Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Bradburn. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and today we are joined by a special guest, one of our good friends here, one of our favorite guests on Nerd Sesh. We have got Tyler from Hoop Venue. Always great to have you on to talk some ball. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited to talk about this eventful NBA season, but I've actually got a bone to pick with you.
Here we go.
Real quick. I don't know if you heard, but I was on the greatest podcast on earth, the State of the League podcast, about a month ago.
Mid.
And no, not mid, but I actually called you out in front of everyone to an influencer boxing match. So,
Wait, hold on a second. I totally missed this.
Where can I put some bread down on dude? Carson's slumping your ass first round, Tyler. You're not.
I don't know. Why are you saying that? I've never fought. I haven't fought
you've got a
since
6'7" reach, bro.
I do have
Tyler's
crazy
not getting
reach.
close to you, man.
You've got the reach on me. I feel like I feel like I got a speed advantage here. I mean, you're definitely a lot taller and lengthier than me. We'd probably have to make the weight classes work, but it was my way of getting
What are you
back.
weighing in at right now?
Right now, I'm around 170.
We're pretty close. I'm like 175.
Okay, we can make this work. We can make this work.
That being said, I don't want to. Tyler, bro, why are you always coming at my head? You came to me with the trivia challenge. That didn't go well for you. Now you want to fight.
This is my
I understand.
So what happened is the question, on that podcast, you go wherever the conversation takes you. And we were talking about whether or not we would do influencer boxing, like if the payday was right. And I said, okay, I'm going to call out Carson because I need my get back for trivia. See, it just worked.
That makes sense.
It works. But yeah, we're setting this up. This is happening. So
it's funny that, normally there's like this long progression where you go through like your normal career, and then after you're washed up, you get to the influencer boxing phase. I like that we're just jumping the gun and getting
No, I disagree. I think this needs to be our last ditch resort. I think when we totally fall off, Tyler, when we're in our 40s and we've lost any motion, that's when we lace them up and we fight and we both break every bone in our body. I don't want to fight you, man. Well, I don't know. Have you ever trained? You strike me as the kind of guy who would have trained in some sort of combat, at least a little bit. Okay, that's good.
Not even in the slightest.
All right,
at
that's
all.
Reassuring. All right,
I was not like in middle school. I would do some boxing with friends, but that's about it. Just like in someone's basement, throw on the gloves. That's the farthest I've gone though. I think because 2040, we'll call it 2040. We'll revisit this.
Yeah, no, I agree. That'll be a great time for it. Yeah, I used to be a menace. I mean, 4th grade, I was a bully. So I was getting in some fights then. But since then, I've tried to live a life of peace. I was once involved in a brawl over the last couple years, but only to say, guys, can we stop it? Can we find a little love? Guy threw a punch at me. I said, dude, come on, brother. We're all one race, humanity, one planet, one love. But by 2040... once I've lost everything in my life, then we can definitely fight. We can lace up those gloves and we'll have a good battle, Tyler. So that's the note that actually most of our episodes start on. Pretty much always we bring on a guest and they challenge me to combat and I dodge it like a coward. But after that opening act, we are going to talk some basketball today because like you said, it's been an incredible season so far. It's been so much fun. And there are 2 teams that stood out in the preseason as, to me, the top 2 title favorites, and I think those 2 teams have actually separated themselves from the pack further. We were talking about their greatness in their own ways last episode, Logan and I, but I want to start with you here, Tyler. Do you think that we are just on an inevitable collision course for a Thunder Nuggets de facto finals? Like they meet in the Western Conference Finals and it feels like, okay, this is it. These are the 2 heavyweights. Do you think that's inevitable?
I wouldn't use the word inevitable. I think maybe more likely would be the word I'd use because I do think these have clearly been the 2 best teams to start the season. I still think it's a small enough sample to where I don't want to use a rash term like inevitable because I do like a ton of what we've seen from the Rockets. There's always like in the back of my head, I'm like, can the Cavs please get healthy? Because when they do have their full roster, I feel like they are pretty close to being championship caliber. But also my bigger question right now, and this isn't to like knock the Nuggets or anything, we've really only seen them play one super competitive team to start the season. Cause like the Wolves didn't have Ant when they matched up, although they do play the Wolves again tomorrow. So that'll be a really good test. I do think Denver, like credit to them. They are the best offense in the NBA, I think pretty clearly. They're just Jokic is somehow peaking again, having just like casually the greatest season of all time.
Insane.
Yeah, and his best defensive season, to which the Denver's also looked phenomenal defensively. The bench minutes have been somewhat fixed to where they're only like a -1 instead of a -15. I do think Denver right now looks like the best or second best team in basketball, but it's like I do need to see it sustained over a bigger sample before I'm ready to say, okay, these are the two teams.
I'm aligned with you, Tyler. I pretty much agree because I think it would be we'd just be overlooking Houston and Minnesota if we were ready to pencil them in. Like, I think that they're both legitimate challengers. Now, I think that Oklahoma City, I agree with you on the point that it's more my hang-up is with Denver because Oklahoma City, I'm ready to pencil in as a Western Conference finalist right now. The two most staggering things to me, because you're talking about Denver proving themselves, I think Oklahoma City's already proven themselves in some pretty big areas. The fact that they're 12-1 this season now without J-Dub, they have a staggering 92.4 defensive rating this season without SGA on the floor, which is just ridiculous. And with the growth of A.J. Mitchell and Chet Holmgren, it's like, damn, this team just looks like they don't have any holes at all. So I'm with you, but yeah, I want to see a little bit more from Denver, and I feel like, not that it's fluky, but like the sample size point is a good one. Like, I want to see Jamal Murray continue this level of play up for, another month or so. I'd like to see Cam Johnson bounce back in a big way, but they are my two favorites right now. We said this on last show, though, Carson. I still think that it's OKC in their own tier and then Denver in their own tier below them.
Yeah. That's how I feel as well. Like, inevitable is too strong a word, not just for this early in the season, but almost ever. Like, crazy stuff happens in the NBA. Very likely, though, I do feel comfortable saying, like, OKC, coming off of a 68-win season, seems to have gotten better in every way. Chet's improvement, AJ's improvement. They don't even have J-Dub. The AJ thing is such a revelation. The fact that now they have a legitimately awesome bench creator who helps them win the possession game convincingly by protecting the ball. And like, as long as they have this formula of Shai, all-time great scorer, offensive engine, who is going to lead them to dominate the possession game so convincingly, and with that, in tandem with their defense, they're going to dominate the transition battle so convincingly, and they currently have the best relative defensive rating in the play-by-play era. It's like, as long as they have those components going their way, and now they have improvements from some of these key players after Shai when it comes to their offensive half-court consistency, like, it's just not close. The thing I always come back to is they won the title last year when they were an average half-court offense in the playoffs. That is impossible to do if you are not all-time great at the things they are all-time great at, which they are now every bit as good at still. Maybe even a little bit better, and I think they're also going to be a significantly better half-court offense when we see them in the playoffs this time around. So then it comes down to Denver, and I just think everything with them has gone as well as possible. Aaron Gordon is playing the best basketball of his life. His shooting leap last year was the most incredible I've ever seen in a single season. He's just built on it. Jamal Murray is actually locked in November for once. He's playing the best early season basketball he ever has. The bench minutes, like you mentioned, Tyler, being basically neutral when they've been a -10 net team with Jokic off the floor over like the last 4 years coming into this one. Valanciunas, THJ bringing that element of volume shooting. The only thing that hasn't been gelling is Cam Johnson, and I still think that he's a great fit and an MPJ upgrade. I just think that he's got to find his rhythm, find his role, find his shot. And then Jokic just doesn't miss. Jokic does not miss, dude. Like, we're at a place where the Thunder don't lose. Jokic doesn't miss. You've got the greatest team constructed pretty clearly since the peak Warriors, and you've got the greatest player that we have seen in this league in a bit, and the greatest offensive player, I would say, ever in Jokic. And with the pieces being right around him, like, it feels to me highly likely that we do see these teams. But I'll ask this as a follow-up. Who is most likely to crash the party? From your perspective, Tyler, like, who is the biggest threat to these two?
I don't know if there is a big threat to OKC besides Denver. I feel like here's where I going back to the inevitable thing. I think it's like, I agree with what Logan said, how it's inevitable that OKC finds themselves in that spot. But I do think Denver's the only team that can knock OKC off their pivot in the West, especially. But there are a few teams that I think pose interesting challenges for Denver. Like, Minnesota's always going to be there because of what they do. I think I think Houston is interesting because Denver to me strikes me as the one team in the West that really can't exploit like the ball pressure lack of a point guard thing. Like Denver doesn't have those type of point of attack defenders, that those type of turnover generators. Whereas like I think Houston's offense would pretty much collapse against OKC in a playoff series.
Right.
So Minnesota and Houston to me strike me as the two, because when you say crash the party, I can't really go into the East because a pathway to the finals would be OKC or Denver. I'm not giving up on Golden State. I know there's so many question marks. I still think Golden State's right there too. I'm admittedly high on the Warriors, especially considering their age. But I think Golden State too is a team that poses a pretty interesting challenge for Denver.
I would be pushed to say Houston is the most likely because I think that, you're talking about how teams can weaponize their advantages against certain teams and like exploit some of their weaknesses. When I look at like a Minnesota, I agree with you, Tyler. Like I think Minnesota could handle Denver, but I think OKC just mogs them. I think they just devour Julius Randle, right? Houston, their superpower, I think they can exert on anybody. Like those jumbo size lineups, winning the possession battle so convincingly. Like I could see Houston imposing their will on Denver and OKC in a way that I don't think Minnesota could. That being said, I think OKC's defense is just going to swallow them up in the half court too, and they are going to exploit that issue of ball handling and that. But I'm wondering if Houston could shrink the margin enough with the rebounding advantage and what they could do on the glass. But I don't know. I'm not there with Minnesota, and the reason I'm not there is I don't believe in Randall in the playoffs, and I think Gobert has regressed enough to the point I'm confident in saying this season to where I think their team defense takes a little bit of a step back. I'm saying they could get to the Western Conference Finals. I think they could knock Denver off. I don't think they could beat OKC. So that's why I would slightly favor Houston.
Yeah, I don't think that Minnesota can beat OKC either. I think it's not Julius Randle is going to fall apart in the playoffs. We just saw him have 2 great playoff series and then 1 disastrous playoff series because he can't mismatch attack against OKC. They force him into a bunch of turnovers. Like they're just such a difficult matchup for any star player in the NBA, but particularly somebody who is built upon trying to exploit those physical advantages. Like you just can't do it against them. And then Jaden McDaniels really just got fried by Shai, and I don't think has the right tactics when it comes to guarding him. And so there's just a different level of like the Thunder being a significantly better defense even, and then having like the genius half-court offensive engine that is Shai. And Ant had some good moments in that series, but he also had some down moments. Like I just don't see the path for Minnesota there. I also don't really see the path for Houston because of what you were saying, Tyler. I just think the lack of ball handlers for them does get exploited against OKC. But I do view Houston as the best team to beat Denver within the West because I think that they have that combination of a shit ton of athletic wings. I think they could throw some interesting stuff at Jokic in terms of just like throwing the kitchen sink at him, doing maybe some of the same fronting, guard him with a wing. I don't know that they have the personnel to do it like OKC did it, right? Because they don't have like low center of gravity, psycho Alex Caruso, whatever. But they have a bunch of good athletes, and I think they could send a bunch of doubles at him, and they at least have that length and speed. And then offensively, it's really tough to bully Denver on the glass because they're an elite rebounding team. But Houston is the best rebounding team that we've seen in ages upon ages. I mean, especially when they're playing Steven Adams the minutes that they are right now. So there's just like enough of that interesting defensive formula and then unique offense that if you can't exploit the lack of ball handlers, it's leading to the number 2 offense in basketball right now because they grab 41% of their own misses. Like, I would say they have the best chance. But if we do open it up to the East, I think I would still go with Houston over Cleveland to beat either of these teams. Again, I don't think that Houston can really beat OKC, but Cleveland was the other team I had in that inner circle. I had OKC in a tier of their own, and then I had Denver and Cleveland.
Don't you
want
to wait to pass judgment on Cleveland? Like, I just think it's way too early to make any big declarations about them.
I'm not making big declarations. They're still definitely my favorite in the East.
I'm just saying I wouldn't completely rule Cleveland out. I think they improved a lot in the offseason. They obviously haven't been healthy to start the year. I would just wait to pass judgment on the Cavs.
Okay, I think you think I'm passing more judgment than I am. I'm saying they would be my 4th title contender compared to my 3rd coming into the year.
I think Cleveland's issue, Cleveland to me is just so weird because we barely ever get to even see stints in the regular season of them having their whole team. Even last year, guys were in and out, and then it was like Ty Jerome's our point guard, and he's just as good as these guys in the regular season. It's weird because the Cavs, for multiple years now, have just fallen apart with injuries in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I'm not saying anyone here is doing that, but in everyone's heads, it's like this team falls apart in the playoffs from a basketball standpoint, but they don't.
Yeah,
exactly. They don't.
Right.
What they do works. What they do clearly works. It's just your system doesn't work if Darius Garland isn't there, and he's the system.
Yeah.
And I do think specifically the way Cleveland plays offense is a direct counter to the way Denver plays defense. So I do think that would be if Denver found themselves able to beat OKC, I don't think that shoes them in for a title.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. I think that Cleveland could definitely beat Denver. I think it would be really hard for them to beat OKC because I think their defensive weak spots would get exploited in that matchup. Yeah. That's the challenge. But look, I've been a huge Cavs defender. Logan kind of came at me there. I'm just saying I've been more so impressed by Houston than I have been discouraged by anything we've seen with the Cavs. Jalen Tyson has been awesome for them. Shout out Cal Bears legend. They've been needing a sort of do-it-all wing like that. He is a guy who is athletic. He's strong. He defends his ass off. He's been shooting the ball really well. He's crafty playing off 2 feet. He's a good basketball player. Lonzo obviously really the fit there.
They just have 2 great units that they can throw out at teams. And Tyler, you're talking about how they were able to kind of play musical chairs. That's a strength of Cleveland's, that depth and their versatility. I was just saying, I just wouldn't write them off just yet. I think Cleveland's going to win the East. I think they're going to be here. It just pisses me off, man. I want to see Garland back fully healthy, and he seems still far away.
Also, the Cavs are a team that really hasn't had good shooting luck yet. Lonzo's shooting 28% from 3 or something like that. Dean Wade shooting 30, low 30s.
Hunter shooting poorly from deep.
People were very quick to write them off. Once they had a slower start compared to the 60 games or whatever they won last season.
No, writing them off is insane. I think they are so clearly the most talented team in the East. I think they are clearly the best offense in the East and overall the best two-way team. And I will say also their depth is such a strength of theirs, and the difference between going from a Max Strus to the guys who are getting big minutes now, if it's a Tyrese Proctor, a Craig Porter Jr., I'm not hating on those guys, but I do think there's a difference there, especially Tyrese Proctor. I think that he's had a kind of rough start to the year. I think Strus is really good. I'm a Max Strus believer. I know some people hate him because of the 2023 finals. I think he's one of the best offensive role players in basketball, all the guard-to-guard screens and just his overall shooting and the playmaking feel. He's really good. So I'm a Cavs believer. I think, though, to beat one of these top 2 teams, you got to get a little funky. Now, that's not necessarily true. I think the Cavs could just straight up have an incredible offensive series and beat Denver like that. But I do like the unorthodox punch that Houston can throw at them. And ultimately, I like Houston's defense a good bit more than Cleveland is probably where I like them just a little bit more to knock off Denver. But I could totally feel differently about that, when we see Garland playing the best version of himself, and it's oh yeah, this was a top 10 relative offense in the play-by-play era last regular season. Houston, it's been super impressive so far. Maybe we see some more issues exploited with their offense being as weird as it is right now. Maybe Şengün, he's been playing so well. What if some of the finishing, some of the shooting touch regresses a little bit with him closer to where it was at last year? And he's got a huge playmaking load on his plate. So those 2 teams are really close to me. But let me ask you guys this as we're talking about how insane the Thunder and the Nuggets are. I've got one question about each of them. Tyler, does OKC win 70 games this year?
I'm gonna say no. Just because 70 is so outlandish, like I feel like the odds are stacked against it. It's not that I can't see it happening, and it's like if I was to give any team the possibility of hitting 70 wins historically, they'd be like on that very short list. It's just the fact that anything can go wrong at any moment, and anything can just like go south, even though they feel so consistent. Like they're like Shai is so consistent, their defense is so consistent. 70, that's a lot of wins. Even the Warriors started 53-5 and then finished the season 20-4. Like even 20-4 wouldn't get you to 70 wins. So OKC, you have to have a flawless season to reach 70 wins.
You do. It's only been done twice. But Logan, will a third join the party?
I mean, that's exactly what I said last episode. That's a lot of damn games. So no, that's a lot.
And you gotta think.
I'm going to say yes.
Balls, nuts, table, nuts, meat table.
Dude,
here's the thing though. But like, what if Shai just ends up missing like 8 games? Do you think? I mean, obviously, right now they have a plus 14 without Shai, but like, I don't think that necessarily is sustainable.
No. Okay, let me address that real quick because I have seen some of the most disingenuous shit of people saying the MVP whose team gets better when he's off the floor. It's like, man, if you're going to use a 100-minute sample of him being off the court when, I don't know, we have all of last season when he had like a plus 13 on off differential. Even this year, their offense is 13 points per 100 possessions better when he's on the floor. He's an all-time great offensive engine. If you think this team, as amazing as they are defensively, and they're one of the best defenses ever, are going to sustain a 92 defensive rating when he's off the court, like Logan mentioned, like that's the reason for that net rating right now in the Shai off minutes. I think that stuff is so silly. But do I think they are going to win the non-Shai minutes? Yes. If he misses 8 games and J-Dub is on the court, I think that like they could go 5-3 easily. And so, that's damaging to your chances to win 70 for sure, because that means you've only got 9 more losses to go around for the entire season. 9 losses in 74 games. The margin is crazy thin, but what I say about OKC is the margin they create in all these areas every single night is so insane that if you say roll out the balls, you've got Shai, and you've got this defense, which like more or less is going to be intact as long as not everybody is out, I think they're going to win every game, especially now with AJ Mitchell doing what he's doing.
Just on top of that, the other thing that I think could boost OKC and make them even better is if they get some of that three-point shooting.
Absolutely.
Like I think they're 21st in three-point percentage right now. This is a team that was, I mentioned this last pod too, they were top 10 a year ago. They were number 1, I think, 2 years ago. Like, this is a good three-point shooting team. I know the playoffs were disappointing. Like, that pendulum's gonna swing back in their favor at some point too.
Dude, nobody goes 12-1 without an all-NBA player while their team is shooting poorly from deep, except for the Thunder. And they play so hard every night.
Do you remember the stat, what it was from the playoffs last year? Like, they shot the lowest from deep since X team. Like, it was...
Yeah, it might have been the 21 Bucks because they shot poorly and they won the title too. But OKC was like 33% from deep.
Modern teams just don't do that.
They won the title in the playoffs. Yeah. It just doesn't happen.
Well, I was actually going to ask you guys, do you think we could even go back to NBA, like in the entirety of NBA history for this, because this is something I've been thinking about. This OKC team might have the highest floor ever.
Yeah.
Like, because of, like, if you said the margin they create, it's like, you know they're going to win the transition battle by like 5 points. You know they're going to win the turnover differential by like 5 points. And then it's like everything, they like start every game at a 10-point advantage.
Yeah, literally. It's so incredible. And that's why like they're in every single game because that's the floor. And when they open the floodgates and it's like, oh, great shot game, great shooting game, they just absolutely obliterate teams. I think it probably is them. If you're talking regular season, if you are talking playoffs, I would still go with the 2017 Warriors because even though they don't have that turnover transition margin, they are just the most talented team in basketball history, and that is like probably the most valuable margin you can have going into a game. We are better than you and we know it. But what I will say is that was a team that would take off more regular season games. 2018, they only won 58. Even 2017, the greatest team ever assembled, they won 67. OKC won 68 last year. And that 2017 team, obviously, they were coming off of a 67 win season in 2015, a 73 win season in 2016. They had done the regular season dominance thing. That wasn't top priority for them. But OKC has done it once now, and it still feels like a priority for them, or maybe it's just inherent to the way that they play. When you have all the dogs and the athletes and the great defenders that they have on the floor, and a player who controls the game like Shai, like, just by the nature of the fact that they're never going to take a game off, that floor is so ridiculously high. So regular season, I would say yes. And that's why I understand the Warriors are the only ever team to win 67 in 3 straight years. The Bulls are the only ever team to like really get close to 70 in back-to-back years because they won 69 in 97. That's the closest we've seen to a team doing that back-to-back. But it just feels like the Thunder are there. It just feels to me like the expectation should be at least 68 again because they're better than last year. And Chet was hurt last year for 50 games. And now J-Dub's been hurt for 13 games. So it's like you can't even point to injury luck to me and say, oh, that's going to start working against them unless it's Shai. Obviously, if Shai gets hurt, that changes everything. But Shai's been like one of the most available players in the NBA. So there's my OKC glaze. I'm going to say it. I think that they win 70 this year. I know how crazy that is.
It's really crazy, like, to think about how many similarities there are between this current iteration of the Thunder and the 90s Bulls. Like, the way they win games on the margin, like, everything in their game plan is like a modernized version of that Bulls team. It's like, we have this high volume scorer who's never going to turn the ball over. We're going to run all of our offense through this guy, get him to his spots in the mid-range, and that's our floor on offense. But then we've surrounded him with all of these crazy defensive athletes, all of this size, and we can do everything on the margins. And then it's like, if the three-point shot is falling, we're never going to lose.
And, like, even though OKC is, I would say, crazier defense. I mean, those late 90s Bulls teams are one of the greatest defenses ever. The final margin kicker that they had is, oh, yeah, we have one of the greatest offensive rebounders ever on our team. And we're just a great offensive rebounding team overall. Even Scotty, MJ, like those guys were great offensive rebounders for their position. So that is a good comparison. Like there is so much that Shai does, and obviously the way in which they do it is differently, but just the combination of crazy scoring volume, efficiency, crazy low turnovers, and being so impactful offensively, one of the most impactful ever, without having these crazy high assist numbers because of how insanely you slant a defense towards you and how efficient you are and how much you win the possession battle. Like all of that is very Jordan-esque. It is. So that's an interesting comparison. Okay, my question about Denver, is Jokic going to have the best offensive season ever this year?
I mean, so far he is. Far he absolutely is. I don't know. So in my opinion, if we're just talking regular season, I do think 2016 Steph is an outlier historically in terms of the best offensive season ever. I think I would still, I mean, obviously if Jokic sustains that, we got to figure out what's sustainable and what isn't. I mean, him shooting 75% on long twos or whatever, 100% on long twos, 75% on touch shots, 95% at the rim. Like, obviously those are going to come back to earth a little bit, but it's like those coming back to earth is still going to lead to like plus 15% efficiency. He's having maybe the greatest, like, I don't know what the term for this is, but in terms of helping teammates score in the paint, like maybe the best season ever in that category, besides like you got like Magic, Nash, and then also Peak Steph again was a master of that. In addition to having the most efficient scoring season ever. So it's like if you help your teammates score in the paint more than any player ever, and you are yourself the most efficient scorer ever, it almost feels like what even could be better than that offensively? Like, could you even create something in your head that's better than that? Besides just like ramping up the volume to 45 points a game on that efficiency. Yeah. It's insane.
And then even beyond that, I mean, what's so incredible about Jokic is it's not just the crazy scoring volume and efficiency. It's not just the all-time great passing. It's also doing this as a big man while he's an elite screener, while he's an elite offensive rebounder. Like even some of these things on the margins, he is so impactful. The versatility, the number of ways in which he can kill you. My answer is yes. I think he's going to. And like you said, Tyler, these numbers are not going to hold up. 87% at the restricted area, which is the most efficient of any of the top 50 in terms of attempts around the basket. The most efficient, actually, he still will be in the paint non-restricted area because he owns that. He's the GOAT there in terms of paint touch. But the fact that he's over 70% there this year, 75% on runners, 73% on hooks, like it's so beyond comprehension. But he does have the GOAT paint touch. And so it's like, I do think he's going to have a GOAT paint touch season. And yeah, he's not going to give you 29, 13, and 11 on 77% true shooting, but could he give you 29, 13, and 11 on 71% true shooting while his team has like close to a 130 offensive rating with him on the floor? And that's exactly what they have right now. It just all feels within reach. I think he's got the highest offensive floor that we've ever seen, certainly in the regular season. And it just feels so easy right now. Like he dropped 55 the other night. He had 33 in the first half. Every single shot felt effortless, felt so high percentage. We're going to talk about this in a bit, and I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. But like his ability to just get himself a 70+% shot, dude. The craziest stat to me, it's not just the raw touch, the raw finishing. When you contextualize it and say, this guy is by far leading the league in post-up points per game, and he is shooting over 77% out of post-ups. To have volume, self-created offense that is that efficient, you are making 77% of your shots, more than 3 out of 4 times you're scoring. Nobody else in the history of the game has ever been able to do that. So I think he's on that pace, Logan. You're nodding your head. Do you agree?
I mean, I'm just thinking about who else would be up there, like candidacy-wise. Like, I kind of like Tyler. Like, I don't know how if he's going to be this efficient, this ridiculously efficient the rest of the season. But I don't know. I'm trying to think about who else would be up there, right? Like the 62 MVP race with like Big O and Wilt, James Harden in 2018. What was that? Was that the year where he ripped off like a bajillion 40-point games, like
2019
consecutively? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think about who else would be up there. I think Jokic is probably still the most unstoppable.
Steph. Yeah, I wouldn't honestly go with any of the seasons that you were saying. I would go next to like 87 Magic. That would be at the top of my list. You can kind of take your pick of like any MJ season from 88 to 93. And then you get into the conversation of regular season versus playoffs, because like 2018 Braun in terms of playoff offense and 2017 Braun, right? That's top tier all time. But he wasn't as crazy in terms of production, efficiency, impact in the regular season. It's still all time great, obviously, but versus what Jokic is doing right now. But you put it all together. And what's crazy is we can say, oh, he's not going to sustain this. But what's been so incredible to me that I've been thinking about with this tier of top superstars, these top 5 guys who are all playing so ridiculously this year, is like, it's easy to say, oh, it's early in the season, this stuff is going to average out. And like, we know that, right, larger sample size, you're going to have some things regress to the mean. But it's like not all 5 of these guys are simultaneously having their best 10-game stretch of the year, you know? And yet they are all putting up these absolutely stratospheric numbers. Jokic, it's easy to say, oh, yeah, well, he's on pace to set all these records, but we're 11 games in. Like, you can't compare that to a full season. Well, we have never seen a 10-game stretch in NBA history where a player was scoring 29 points per game and making 75% of their twos. Jokic's last 10 games, he's given you 30, 13, and 11 while making 80% of his twos. So it's like you look at any span in NBA history of this length and we've never seen anything like it. So to circle back to the big question, that's why I do think that clearly they are kind of the only legitimate threat to knock off OKC. And I still view OKC as a strong favorite, but if Denver is able to defend pretty well, and maybe that's going back to the zone that we saw them have some success with last year, although I think OKC, as they shoot better, as Shai sees more of that look, they get better against that, and that happened in that series. But the defense has been better this year. They've been serious defensively from the start of the year, which was not at all the case last year. And then you just have like best offense in basketball, best offensive player ever. I think OKC threw a hell of a punch at Jokic defensively last year in the playoffs, and they can do that again. And that's why I wouldn't pick Denver to win the series, because I think OKC takes more of a chunk out of your star's offensive production than like just about any defense ever. But if there's one player on the planet who can overcome that, it would have to be Nikola Jokic. And that's why that's like the only formula that I can reasonably see. I want to segue into a conversation that is very interesting to me. And Logan, I'll start with you here. What do you think are the top 5 superpowers that any player in the NBA has right now? And let's actually go one at a time, maybe. Like, what's number one to you? What is the greatest?
Steph shooting. I don't think there's ever, I think it's the greatest weapon in NBA history. I don't really think there's anything that comps. I got a bunch written down because I think this is a fascinating thought exercise. I do have some joke ones too, but Steph shooting is by far, I think, number one, not only today, I think, in NBA history.
Tyler?
Yeah, that's also my number one. I think I'll take it a step further. I think in sports history, we've never seen a superpower quite like Steph shooting. It's unbelievable.
So I agree. What if I were to say in 2025, 2026, though, I think it might be number 2. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I'm considering it. Well, here's why. Okay, I'm obviously viewing, like, these traits within context. So when we talk about Jokic's paint touch, I'm not saying what if we gave that paint touch to Muggsy Bogues. I'm saying it's his paint touch scoring, right? It's his paint touch at his size with his strength. Same goes for Steph, right? It's the combination of the shooting ability with the off-ball movement, obviously.
I think
with
there's
the quickness, athleticism, all this stuff working together, right?
I think there's actually, if we're going to do it like that, I think there's 2 more that have an argument for number 1.
Okay, well, interesting. I want to hear that. But the reason I'm saying that is I think that although obviously Steph's shooting has not diminished whatsoever, there is a reason that now in his mid-late 30s he shoots 39% from 3 instead of 44% from 3 like it was at his absolute peak. And part of that is defense is getting better, adjusting, smarter coverages, right? But I also think part of it is just a little bit of his diminishing on-ball elite scoring pop. Part of that is a little bit of the loss of quickness. And I guess to me, that's all interrelated enough to say that, yes, if you are going peak for peak, the only ability in NBA history that I think can rival Steph's three-point shooting is Shaq's physical force. And I still think I would take Steph's three-point shooting 101 when it comes with all the off-ball movement. At this point, though, I don't know that it is 100% as valuable as it was a few years ago, and that's why Steph isn't still a top 3 player in the NBA, and he's now like the 6th best player in the NBA.
Damn, I don't know if I could say that. I still think it's just as I don't know if it's as valuable as it was at its peak, but I don't think it's diminished that much.
What's tough is like when you, like what Carson was saying, when you take it within the context of the overall game, that kind of changes things in a major way. Because like the way I kind of look at it is like I agree that's probably how it should be done, but I'm thinking about it just in context of like just as a standalone superpower. Like what would Jokic's paint touch be without his ability to get to that spot at will, or without the passing? Because like what if we just saw him getting doubled every time and he couldn't pass? Like he could not find the open man. Then it's like how valuable is the touch if he's getting blitzed 10 feet out and can't find the open man every time?
That's fair. Whereas the shooting, no matter what, as long as you're drawing 2 off ball every time, you're creating advantages for your team. But like maybe that's impractical. I don't know. I feel like you have to like sort of look at it within the context of their game.
The only reason that I say Steph's is still valuable today is because we've seen how portable his skill set has been no matter how old he is. Like, yes, he was 100%. Mad efficient, at his peak in 2016, but how old is Steph? 37, 38 now?
Yeah, he's 37.
Even at 37, he can drop a 46-piece in the blink of an eye. Like, dude, I'm mad at myself, guys. I'll let y'all know. I have had 2 games this year where the Warriors were getting their ass kicked early, and I said, I'm going to bed. This game's over. And then in one quarter, Steph will drop 20, and I'm like, fuck. Why didn't I stay up and enjoy the masterpiece? I think the fact that still at age 37, in the blink of an eye, Steph can go off it's just unmatched. And I think we've talked about this, I know, a million times, Carson, on this show, but we said this 5 years ago. It's the reason that Steph Curry could age more gracefully than any other star, because that is going to last him for however long he wants to play. That touch isn't going anywhere.
100%. Well, look, man, at the end of the day, I'm still going to take Steph shooting here, okay? I was trying to do a little devil's advocate thing because I think that it's close. I think it has gotten close now versus Jokic's paint touch. However, I do think the singular ability the fact that no player in NBA history has stressed defenses off ball, anything like this. Nobody has drawn the sort of coverages. Like, to me, you look back at that Houston series last year, and it's like the number of times that the opposing team is willing to leave Steph's teammates wide open, and Steph doesn't have to have the ball. Like, there's nothing new there. It's the same thing he's been doing for over a decade, and yet he's still doing it at a totally unprecedented, unparalleled level. And that's how, like, his team's offense is 15 points per 100 possessions better with him on the floor last year, even when he's not the same on-ball scorer. I do think that Jokic's offensive greatness, because he's clearly a better offensive player than this version of Steph, right? That's beyond debate. It is more a sum of everything that he does, the totality of not just the paint touch, but the all-time great passing and the great shooting touch and the rebounding and the screening, all these things coming together. Whereas Steph's an all-time great ball handler. Steph's always been an underrated finisher, although he gets to the rim less and less. But it is more so singularly that GOAT shooting that makes him the player that he is still today. So I thought it was an interesting conversation, at least at this point. But yeah, if we're talking like 2016 through 2021, 2022 Steph, like that three-point shooting is definitely the greatest weapon in league history. Okay. Logan, I'll go back to you. What's next on your list here?
So I don't know exactly what specifically to highlight with this guy. I wrote down two. Victor Wembanyama's frame and athleticism, like I don't know, like, or his defensive gravity. I don't know which we go with, but like I think some sort of just his gargantuan size and agility is, I think that would be number 3 for me. I have another one that I think you could argue belongs in this top 3, but to me that stands out as the next like big superpower. Just his freakish size and athleticism.
Wembiness.
I had Wemby's frame as an honorable mention. That was although that's one that made me think, like when Carson started talking about within the context of his game, like within the context of Wemby's game, his frame is the most like ridiculous thing ever because he can handle the ball, shoot, pass, and do everything he does defensively. Like, did you guys see the clip of him chasing Steph around the court?
Insane.
Like he got switched on to Steph and was like chasing him over screens and stuff, and it's like, what am I watching? Yeah, to me that was more of an honorable mention though.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because you can have a Manute Bol who, like, if you were just going to combine height and wingspan, that's the craziest frame ever, and yet Manute Bol wasn't very good because he didn't have all the other things that it takes to
should
make
we
the most
include,
out of that.
Well, that's what I think makes Wemby
This is
special.
Get
So do we go
much into the semantics.
I don't know, man.
Maybe
like
that's the only way to do
his
it.
coordination. I don't know. Like I think it is such a game-breaking weapon, but I don't know exactly how you define
Ultimately,
his superpower.
Where I landed was, if we just took Wemby being who he is at that size, that's the greatest superpower in the NBA. But that's too much coming together. So I do have a Wemby thing on this list. I went with his defense, though, and I have that a little bit lower down. I have that as my 5th superpower because other than that, it's what you were saying, Tyler. I was like, we're putting too many things together that make him like the greatest talent in basketball history. I think he has the potential to be the greatest player ever, but there have been other players who literally physically have had his height and wingspan. They just haven't had everything else that he has.
Right. Well, that's the same thing. Like another guy I thought about like that was Anthony Edwards. I was like, it's the first step and the pull-up shooting. Like that's the superpower. It's the two fusing together.
Yeah.
What about Zion's rim pressure and rim finishing then?
I think there's one other person that we have
or
to
Giannis.
go to.
I mean, I wrote down both of them.
I've got Giannis's force as like the speed, the power, the downhill ability, like just the fact that he's so physically imposing that you have to guard him with your entire team or he's getting a layup. Like the beginning of this season, getting like 15 shots at the rim per game, it's like there's nothing like it.
Yeah. Okay. So here were my 2nd and 3rd. I do have Jokic's paint touch for all the numbers that we talked about earlier. I think it's a top 5 superpower in league history. Nobody else has ever been able to self-create a shot.
Do you guys
with such efficiency?
Should we honorable mention Jokic's playmaking at all?
Yes.
100%. Well, I was gonna say I was waiting for that. Jokic's touch isn't my superpower for Jokic.
Wow.
For me, it's his ability to read defenses. He anticipates everything. He knows when to notch up the scoring and when to notch up the passing, which I guess kind of goes into like his skill set as a passer and as a shot maker. But
I think that's
if you double team Jokic, he creates 17 rim assists. Then the Clippers are like, let's only play the passing, and then he drops 52 in 3/4. So just his ability to react to any defense and anticipate every opening and know what he has to do to produce a 130 offensive rating. To me, that was the superpower. Just like he's a genius.
Which is totally fair to the extent that I considered including 2 Jokic superpowers on this list. And then I said, okay, maybe that's a little bit much. But yes, however exactly you define it, if it's the processing, reading a defense, the basketball brain, the literal passing, the playmaking, like this is why, again, I think his offensive greatness is the totality of so many things more than just one GOAT level trait. But I also do think his paint touch is pretty much a GOAT level trait, and I think that his passing is not far behind being a GOAT level trait. So I think that's totally fair. I think that Giannis's rim pressure, rim finishing force, however you define it, has to be here, though. Like, it's just absurd. He is making 11 shots per game in the restricted area. Next most in the NBA is Jalen Duren at 5.3. So he is more than doubling the next most prolific rim scorer in basketball. He's making 75% of the shots there, and it's like so many different ways in which he can get to the basket. He can do it through so much traffic. He can do it against any human on earth, essentially. Like, if you leave him on an island, you have to send so many bodies at him. And still he's putting up these rim scoring numbers that we've never seen. So, like, Zion is incredible there, Logan. However, Zion is also not getting to the rim at peak Zion rates from a few years ago. He's started to focus more on like that touch shot making of his own. Giannis somehow at 30 years old is the most destructive as a rim force that he's ever been, which is just like absolutely incredible and one of the freakiest athletes ever. So I think those have to be here. Something Jokic, something Giannis. I do have Wemby's defense. Let me give you guys my last superpower. This is the most ambiguous, and you guys tell me if you think that I'm combining too many things together here. I have Shai's movement. Like, to me, the combination of taking into account his frame here, if you'll allow me, at 6'6", how ridiculously shifty he is, the insane change in pace, the incredible ability to navigate these tight spaces, the absolutely ridiculous footwork, the best body control and balance that we've seen since a Michael Jordan, with legitimately upper echelon, like straight line speed when you get him in transition, with the ability to do it in the air so gracefully. Nobody moves like Shai, and if I had to pick out one thing that makes him the all-time great scorer that he is, I would say it's that. I would say it's his ability to move like nobody else and to be impossible to stay in front of because of that, but then he can also stop on a dime, and he gets these ridiculous shin angles and leverage on drives, but then he can also effortlessly spring backwards into a step back or stop on a dime and rise up. But if you guys want to call me and say this is putting too much together, I'll hear it out, because realistically, it is everything that I just laid out, and then also the best ball handling ever for a guy of his size, and then also top 2 mid-range shot making in the game, and then also the best finishing guard in basketball, which is not just the physical traits, that's also touch, and like maybe it's ultimately, again, just a sum of more traits than some of these straight up superpowers that are in the top 5.
That's what I was thinking about with Luka too, because I was like looking at some of the names that we've gone through, and I'm like, damn, it just feels weird like not having a guy like him or Shai here, and I don't know how to like button it up in one trait. Like even with because there's so much interrelated with it, right? Like Luka, I was just gonna say like his off the dribble shooting and touch, right? But like interrelated with that is his change in pace and his strength. I was even thinking about Jokic's post scoring too, like Jokic's raw strength is involved in that too. So
yeah,
I'll allow it. Like, I think it's a really good shout. It is kind of broad. Like, I think if you were going with that, I would take Wemby's movement over Shai's, just because if we're including
that
frame.
Probably is equally.
But it is a good shout. That's kind of the point with all these guys, man. It's so hard to just like pin down one. It really is the everything in totality coming together that makes them special. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Steven Adams rebounding yet, though, Carson.
Wait, you're cooking. But first, I want Tyler's thoughts. Do you think that that's melding too many things together to say Shai's movement?
I had Shai number 4, and it was
nice.
specifically like the functional athleticism within the context of his handle. So a very similar thing to what you're talking about, like the flexibility, the balance, the coordination to start and stop, change directions, go wherever he wants. He can get wherever he wants on the floor to the point where I genuinely think like if you gave Shai Ja Morant's jumper, Shai would still be an elite scorer. Like I fully believe that because you just can't stop him from getting wherever he wants to go every single possession because of that functional athleticism and the handle. So I guess it's kind of combining the two slightly, but no, the way he moves at his size it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And like the ball
one
on a
of
string.
the best inside the arc scorers ever. And it's like you said, he shot like shit from 3 in the playoffs last year. Like that shot left him and he still gave you 30 points per game on plus efficiency, not his regular season efficiency. He took a dip for sure. But against these defenses that are all so aggressively keyed in on him, you said it so well, man. It's that ability to get wherever he wants on the floor. Like you will look at a still image and you will think there is no space there. There is no way that he is going to get to the rim against this defense as it's configured. And he is so fucking freakishly slithery and flexible, and his balance is so crazy. Like he will just pirouette through and he's at the basket. And if you have 5 bodies in the paint, then yeah, he'll stop on a dime and he'll rise up. And that's still a testament to that insane deceleration. Like, Shai, he is incredible, isn't he? Okay, Logan, I want to hear, because it sounds like you came with a more robust list. Steven Adams rebounding, specifically the offensive rebounding. It's a fun shout. I guess my thing would be, even though he is the best offensive rebounder of this century, do we dock him at all for being a specialist there? Like, do we think if another guy said, my job is to get an offensive rebound every possession, they could do something more comparable?
No.
Or like even
I think
Mitchell
if they
Robinson,
could, I think
he's
they
not
would.
Steven Adams, but Mitchell Robinson is an insane pure offensive rebounder too.
I think if anybody could do what Steven Adams was doing, they would. It's a skill issue.
I'm kind of in between here because I do think like there's a reason Steven Adams is peaking as an offensive rebounder now. Like he was in OKC, he was more of like a dynamic big, like expected to be a pick and roll threat. And his offensive rebounding numbers were still all time, but not like this. And that's where I'm like, if you get Andre Drummond and it's like your job on offense is to just fight for inside position and grab a second chance every single possession, I feel like Andre Drummond could maybe do what Steven Adams is doing.
Well, what I was going to say, taking it even further, is like, what if we took an actual superstar who is a great offensive rebounder, like a Jokic, right? Somebody who's got all the strength, who has the incredible instincts, feel for the ball, somebody who's got like a sneaky, quick second jump. I mean, to be fair, he doesn't get high off the ground to start with, but he gets back up there quickly. And I'm like, if you said rebound every second of the game, that's your job, maybe he'd be putting up
That's too
7
cute.
offensive
I feel like your
rebounds per 75
tendencies
possessions.
have to come into play here when
No,
we're
I
doing
tend
thought
to agree.
exercises like this.
I tend to agree. Look, Logan, I'm just trying to figure things out. I'm
Well,
just
it's like-
philosophizing with my boys. Yeah, Steven Adams, it's incredible. Like I said, he's the GOAT offensive rebounder of this century. He wouldn't be in my top 5 superpowers.
No, I was going to say, we've entered a new tier here. This one is my last non-joke one. This is real. Wouldn't be in my top 5 or maybe close, but I would feel bad if I didn't mention it. Tyrese Halliburton's court vision and selflessness. Yes. I just mean in the sense of like, he's unique in how selfless he is and how he sees the floor. Like,
totally.
Because I'm thinking about outliers, like Giannis as a rim finisher is an outlier. Steph shooting is. I still feel like Tyrese's playmaking and vision is a bit of an outlier.
Totally. I was considering, I don't know if it was ever going to make my top 5, but like Tyrese Halliburton's approach to basketball. Like, I guess just the totality of his brain, the way that he plays has led to one of the great offenses that we've seen in this league in recent years. And without him, as we've seen, everything falls apart. Like, yeah, right, he needs the literal passing skill at his size. He needs the shooting ability that he has. All these things come together, but nobody else just like thinks like he does. And that feel, that selflessness, that vision, like you're saying, it is absolutely a total superpower. I think there's another one that has to come up pretty high here. What about Kevin Durant's jump shooting?
Oh, for
at
sure.
his size?
Definitely.
I mean, dude,
I just didn't know how to quantify
55%
it.
from mid-range, 40+% from 3 every single year, and he can get those shots up whenever he wants.
Yeah,
That's
surprised.
another reason when we talk about Steph, right? Literal GOAT superpower. That's why he's still so amazing at 37. This is why KD is still so amazing at 37. Like, he's got another one of those unbelievable all-time traits that ages so well.
Sneaky number 1 overall pick, Ryan Kalkbrenner's shot selection, bro. You'd have the most efficient player of all time.
Dude, Cook
Doesn't take bad
Ryan
shots.
Kalkbrenner's
Hooper.
size? I guess he's no Wemby, but he's the next best thing damn near.
I had a few other like honorable mentions. I had was LeBron's mind. I mean, it's
True.
just the guy's the ultimate basketball mind. He knows everything that coaches are going to do before they do them.
Yep.
I actually like on the same kind of line of thinking as Kevin Durant's shooting or whatever. My number 5 actually was Luka's shot making, and specifically just the versatility of the shot making. Like, Luka right now is having his lowest rim volume, lowest driving season ever, and is like still just this uber efficient 35 point per game scorer because it doesn't matter. It's like he's shooting like 60% from 10 to 16 feet. The pull-up 3 hasn't been there yet, but we all know like on volume he can give you 37% on pull-up 3s or 38%. Post fades, mid-range jumper, like he has literally every shot. I actually think like we don't give enough credit to Luka. It looks different stylistically, but in terms of just the pure art of shot making, Luka is the second coming of Kobe. Like the robustness of the shot profile. It's just like no matter what the defense is in, no matter what they're doing, like Minnesota, for example, was like, we're going to switch everything, try to limit Luka's playmaking. We're going to not let him touch the paint. And then he was like, okay, I'm not going to touch the paint, but here's 33 points per game on 65% true shooting because I'm still going to make all my shots. And it's insane.
Yeah, his shot making is absolutely ridiculous. The craft, the touch, the size. I will say the difference between him and a Kobe, well, obviously there are things that Luka does that Kobe didn't do, right? Kobe didn't shoot 10 step-back threes a game and make 36% of them. Like, that wasn't there. But the lack of the off-ball stuff from Luka, like the crazy shooting off movement coming around screens that you would get from Kobe out of the mid-range. Luka obviously doesn't have that, but that is definitely a good shout. I'm coming up with a couple more here. What about Amen Thompson's athleticism? The totality of it? Because to me, he's the best athlete in the league and one of the craziest athletes we've ever seen.
Do you think he's that, like, I always wonder this because I do think he's the best athlete in the league, but how much of a gap do you think there is between Amen and Asar's athleticism?
Very little.
So that's where it's tough for
Very
me to
close.
say like Amen's superpower is on here because it's like Asar is right there.
Asar is right there, but they're two guys who are both one of a kind, is what I always say about them. Despite the fact that they are very similar to one another, they are not similar to anybody else on the planet. So, yeah, I think that Amen is the slightly better athlete. But just to me, like, that combination of absolutely ridiculous bounce, obviously, with the insane full court speed, with the kind of first step that, like, you're never going to see from a 6'7" guy. And then he's also got all of the balance that he does have. And if you put it in that body with a 7-foot wingspan, just the overall physical gifts that he's been given, like outside of Wemby, I would say just in terms of pure physical gifts, athleticism, frame, Amen is probably the next most gifted player in the NBA right now. I would say peak LeBron would be next, but obviously he doesn't have all of those same athletic tools at his disposal right now. This is fun, man. This is a fun conversation. Is there anything that we missed? Are there any more superpowers that need to shout?
I
Okay,
got
let's
two
hear 'em.
shouts. Logan's going to like this one. Sabonis' ability to hand the ball off to the pocket, man. Right in the
He is
pocket.
so
Malik
good
Monk
at
gets it
it.
right there, dude. Gets it right there for a gap up the middle, man. That's beautiful. No, but on a more serious note, Gobert's discipline on defense. Never bites on fakes, never out of position. Just like like Gobert to me is such an outlier. I think Ben Wallace is the only other guy where it's like he's gonna block more shots than he fouls, and it's just it's insane. It's insane to watch Gobert work on defense.
That's a great shout. I was thinking about a Gobert defensive trade as well, and I think that that's the right one. And it also happens to come with 7'11" wingspan and a 7'1" framer. I don't know if it's 7'11", but 7'10". Like, he's got one of the longest wingspans in NBA history. That was awesome. Shout out to all the great players in the NBA today. And let's keep up the positivity by taking it to a team scale. Logan, I'll start with you here. We've done a lot of talking about a lot of basketball teams already this year. I mean, the basketball has just been so beautiful. We have to get on here and yap. This is our third show in 3 days. And some are saying it's the best because we've got Tyler with us. Yeah, dude, we're grinding. We can't stop. We love it too much. But who do you think has been the most underrated team so far this year, Logan? Is there somebody who even we aren't giving enough love or who isn't getting enough love overall?
You gave some love to this team not that long ago. I didn't dismiss them, but I wasn't as high on them. I was unfortunately higher on the Chicago Bulls, who are now just trash. They fell off. They're washed.
Ooh.
That's what the sources are.
Can I address this real quick?
Sources are saying, yeah.
I have an apology to make.
Mm-hmm.
When the Chicago Bulls got off to a 4-0 start, I said, this is fake. I said they have unbelievably good three-point shooting luck. I said if you look at their next 7 games, they are going to fall to 5-6. I was wrong. They're 6-5. So Bulls fans, I apologize to you guys. I was completely wrong. Clearly, I totally missed the mark. And freaking chip or bust. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
And that
was necessary.
Anybody's going to get got by B-ball Paul Reed when he has a game like he had the other night, right? There's no shame in losing to the Pistons without any of their actual NBA players.
Well, some of us knew that Paul Reed was special, and he just needed a moment to shine, man.
Where's Paul Reed's grit when we're talking about the best superpowers?
That's a great question.
It's got to be up there.
Hell of an offensive rebounder.
Just I say Isaiah Stewart's intimidation factor, just you never know if he's just going to crash out.
His instinct to kill. Yeah,
don't press him, or you might.
Isaiah Stewart's unhingedness, bro.
Yeah,
it's a great one.
I am going to take another team from the East, and we have given them some flowers, but I don't think enough. I think the most underrated team so far is the Miami Heat. I've been really impressed in totality with what this group has been able to do. They're number 1 in assists per game right now. I just think the way their offense moves is really interesting. You know, they're not being one guy that you're running the offense through. And I know we talked about this a little bit on last episode, Carson, but just or on the live stream, the general shift in some of these ideologies of teams to not have this heliocentric ball player, just the free-flowing offense, I think is interesting on a league-wide scale. But for Miami, the fact that they have opened this season 7-5, and they've done this without Tyler Hero is so impressive to me. The level that the defense has reached, the totality of this offense, Jaime Jaquez, Norman Powell has been a huge addition to this team, and damn do the Clippers miss him. Andrew Wiggins has been awesome to start this year. This team is just a lot more solid than I expected. I didn't think the Heat were going to be good this year. I liked a lot of other teams in the East, but this is a team that has 2 units that I really believe in. They have role players that are versatile and do their jobs, and they've got an anchor on the defensive side of the ball that gives them a really high floor, and Bam's just a guy that I think I got a little bit too low on last season. So I'm not here saying that Miami's going to be a championship contender or anything like that, but I do think that Miami's generally underrated. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. And again, not to bury the lead, Tyler Hero is going to come back at some point, and I have to make this offense better. So I'm just excited to see how much better, how real, I guess, the growth of Jaquez is and some of these other guys, and then the additions of Powell. I just think they're flying under the radar a little bit right now.
That's totally fair. Carson and I were actually talking about the Heat briefly before the show, just talking about how they completely revamped their offense. And I was someone coming into the season that was a bit lower on their offense. I think I gave their grade a C- when I did my video series. And it was just we have this team that they've been running the same system for quite a few years now. It's we're going to run a lot of lateral action. We're going to put the ball in Bam's hands. We're going to try and create 2-on-1s and get the ball to the short roll. And then it was you lose Duncan Robinson. So that's half of your creation out of those actions because of his ability to draw 2 to the ball because of the shooting threat. And then you've also lost Jimmy as your isolation kind of outlet. And then I kind of came away feeling Bam's going to have to self-create a lot of offense. And Bam, as a self-creator, tends to rely on 9 or 10 mid-range shots, which just aren't efficient offense. But then Miami comes in with this new revamped system where it's we're not even going to set screens, abandon that lateral action stuff. We're just going to look for quick mismatches and just play 5 out and just rotate behind the ball and find cutters, find corner threes. We're going to get the ball to the post anytime there's a size advantage, and we have 6 guys who can post up between Bam, Wiggins, Jaquez, Jovic, Ware. I think they're just a genuinely really good offense. I was always high on the defense. Like I saw the vision with the defense. They've just got so many pieces. And Eric Spoelstra, it's kind of hard to go wrong there. The offense, to me, my only question moving forward is how does Tyler Hero actually fit into it? Because to me, he's one of the most screen reliant offensive players in the league. So if you put him in a system where we're not screening anymore, what does his production look like?
I think that's exactly the question to ask. The Heat are running half as many ball screens as the team that is setting the next fewest ball screens in the NBA. Tyler Hero alone ran more pick and rolls per game last year than the Miami Heat as a team are running in his absence. So, like, there is a crazy question there. And then also, even though I've been so impressed by Miami's offense and it's so much fun and they're making the most out of their talent, the defense is still the strength of this team. And Hero does hurt this defense when he's on the floor. And then he's a weird fit for the offense. So, like, as someone who's enjoyed early season Miami basketball so much, I'm a little nervous for like him coming in and throwing a wrench into some of the things they've been doing so well that have made them so good. He's a talented player, obviously. He's a very good player. He's an all-star last year. He's really good offensive talent. But the fit is concerning me a little bit right now.
It is concerning, but also the fact that Norman has looked so good in this system too. He's so good at attacking closeouts and getting downhill. He's such a dynamic pull-up shooter. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, are you guys thinking about, like, if he doesn't look good, are you shopping Hero? Or are you just like, we don't even need him? Like, how do you feel?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I don't know. I think it's too early to get into that because we haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something big to watch because this is a team that has undergone, like, the most dramatic stylistic change in an offseason that you could, and they've done it without one of their two stars on the floor, and this is the second to last year of his contract. He's still on a tradable deal, obviously a relatively young player, but then he's also in this archetype that I don't know how highly it's valued around the league. I mean, he's a really good shot creating guard, but then he also does have these defensive issues, and he's not like the best of the best offensively. So I don't know. I think we're getting too far down the road there if we start thinking about that right now, but I'm definitely going to be watching that closely. I love the Heat, though. I've already talked about them a fair bit in previous episodes, so I won't go into it more. But their offense is like everything that is good and fun about team basketball. It's some Pacers. It's a lot of Grizzlies from last year before they abandoned it. It's let's get the ball up the floor quickly. Let's play with a ton of pace. Let's identify mismatches. Let's force cross matches in transition, and let's go to work. It's whoever can cook kind of offense, drive and kick, drive and cut. And the guy who I just continue to be amazed by is Jaime Jaquez. I think that he sets so much of what they do into motion with his driving ability. Been one of the best downhill wings in basketball. Really good passer. Unbelievable finishing this year. Like, just a revelation. A hugely improved player. And then Bam's style totally changing, where now he's this volume three-point shooting, attacking closeouts, like primarily spotting up kind of player. It's just been super, super fun to watch. And Spo, man, just continues to innovate and continues to do his thing as one of the best coaches in basketball. Tyler, who would you pick for this question as the most underrated team so far?
Before I answer that, I actually am like upset that I didn't mention Bam more, because to go along with what Logan's saying about them just being overlooked, like no one is talking about Bam's 3-point shooting at all. Mm-hmm. Like we've like this is crazy. He's shooting like, I don't know what he's at right now, but last time I checked, it was like 6 threes a game.
Yes.
Or like 5 threes a game at like a 36% clip. Like he's just a volume 3-point shooter now, and a good one.
What has radicalized me to the take small shooting leaps from big men seriously position is, I think about two guys last year, both Bam and Onyeka. It was like they started shooting some threes. They were taking a couple threes a game. They weren't shooting really well, but it was clearly a priority for both of them. And now both those guys are like actual stretch bigs who are like shooting the three really well on legit volume. Obviously, Bam more so than Onyeka in terms of the volume, but Onyeka's shooting like 40% from three on 4+ attempts per game, I think. So you see that it's not going to happen all at once for a big who's in their mid-20s, late 20s in Bam's case, but it's worth noting when you see
it's like,
priority.
Last season Bam was 36% 3 attempts a game. Right now he's 34% 6 attempts a game, so doubled the volume, and 34% is more than enough to make the defense respect you, at least.
Totally.
As somewhat of a threat. I think another guy is like Mobley in the second half of 2024 started shooting threes. Then 2025, he's shooting threes. The only guy that didn't build upon that was Sabonis.
You don't have to. You didn't have to. I know.
He doubled the attempts and then shot like.
I know this jackass down here was trying to tell me, oh, he's improved. He's improved. He's a bum. He's a bum.
He didn't do it. He didn't take that next step for some reason.
No.
No, that's funny. My pick for most underrated team is the Pistons. The Pistons. I think I was very high on the Pistons coming into the season, so I'm not really shocked at what I'm seeing. It's more so they're 10-2, and like you said, they just won a game without any of their players. The depth is clearly there. The young talent is ridiculous. It's like every time they have a piece missing, someone can just step in and be a really good role player. Jalen Duren looks amazing. And what's funny is I actually thought Jalen Duren was going to start trying to shoot threes this season because I saw a bunch of workout videos in the offseason of him practicing his jumper. Oh, well, now he's an 84% free throw shooter, so I guess that helps. So Duren's amazing. Like, legitimately looks like an all-star. Just a crazy two-way big. And I love Ron Holland. Love the way they're using Asar. Stu's playing his best basketball. But to me, it just all comes back to, like, Cade's playmaking is absolutely nuts. The way that he can operate in these lineups with, like, 4 non-shooters and still create good shots at volume, like, I really do not care about his efficiency. I don't care that he missed 35 shots. Obviously, that stuff matters. But, like, when you get to the end of that Philly game specifically, the whole down the stretch, Philly was like, we're going to blitz this guy, we're going to double him. And he's just carving them up. And Detroit has no shooters on the court at all. And then when he put Drummond on that poster, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, this guy's arrived. Cade's insane. Cade's an insane player, and I love what Detroit's building around him with the identity of defense, athleticism, and tenacity.
I believe that Philly game, he was the most double-teamed player to have at least 100 touches in a game ever in the time that they've been tracking that. So, like, nobody pretty much has more on their plate offensively than Cade. I agree with you. His ability at volume to dictate so many possessions, to be such a great passer, it's super impressive. I guess my concerns with Detroit, though, ultimately do come back to that. The lack of shooting on this team, the lack completely of another creator right now, and maybe Jaden Ivey when he comes back is that guy.
Don't disrespect Dennis Jenkins like that, bro.
Sorry,
okay.
You're
right. You're right.
Back-to-back big games, bro. He's cracking the rotation.
No, you're right, Logan. And B-Ball Paul is also coming for Jalen Duren's job. I'll tell you that right now. But I do worry about Cade having that much on his plate because although I agree to some extent with you in that game, in that context, so many guys down, Cade having so much on his plate, missing 31 shots, it's not as bad as that might look in a vacuum. However, when you go 4 of 15 in the restricted area, brother, you got to finish better. And the finishing is just so bad with him. And the pull-up three-point shooting has been so bad. Those are the two things that were major problems for him in the playoffs last year. Those are the two things that have been questions with him, along with the turnovers, which he has improved upon this year. That's where I just still don't think their playoff offense is going to be good enough to live up to their regular season seed. Because, I mean, right now they're the 1 seed, and they're going to win a lot of games because they're a great defense. Duren is a monster. They're really good on the boards. They do a lot of stuff that I do like, but half-court offense is where I get worried with them.
Tyler, I liked the Pistons a lot too preseason, and I thought they were going to be a good regular season team because of the defense, because of this identity that you're talking about, and Cade. And we talked about this a little bit on our last episode. Would it be worthwhile to you to maybe shop one of these young wings like a Ron Holland to improve offensively? Because I like Ron Holland too, and I think he's going to be a good player long term. I think he fits the identity of this team as well. But anytime I watch Detroit games, I feel like if they had one more guy with some legit offensive punch, that they would be a bigger threat. And I think they've got enough depth on the wings athletically and defensively that they could sacrifice that for a little more offensive punch.
I think that's fair. I think it all comes down to if the price is right. Like, I think Ron Holland has clear value because he's so raw, because he's so young, and because he has all these great tools. I guess it would just be like what's out there. I don't know if I'd necessarily shop him, but it's like let's kind of explore and see like what we can actually get back for him. Because I remember like Detroit was in a lot of the Levine rumors last year because it was like we want that second guy next to Cade that can also shoot and score.
How are you feeling about Jaden Ivey? How much of a difference do you think he makes when he comes back?
I think he makes a difference, but I don't think he's like a playoff second creator. I still think he's a pretty flawed player. He has even more turnover problems than Cade. So when you have Cade and Ivy as a backcourt, like you're going to lose possessions, a lot of possessions. I think Cade, one thing I will say is that I do think the pull-up three-point shooting and the finishing have been continued to be somewhat weaknesses. I will say I'm glad that he's getting to the line a lot more this season. Like that's a big improvement for him. I think Duncan Robinson's been awesome. I think he's helped a ton as a spacer. I also think they could probably squeeze more out of Caris LeVert. I think Caris LeVert is pretty close to being like a really good second creator. I would like to see more utilization from him because he's only getting like 15 minutes besides that last Bulls game where he started.
Right.
I mean, what's funny is when Logan, when you were asking me that question about like would I shop Ron Holland for that second creator, it was kind of funny because it brought me back to what Carson was saying about there not really being a market out there for Tyler Hero. Is this not the exact situation that Tyler Hero would thrive in? Like you have screen and roll bigs, you have tons of size, athleticism, and defense. He's going to have great opportunities to play off the catch and spot up and things like that. So, like, if Tyler Hero was on the table, that's someone I would explore. I think that'd be a great... And he matches the timeline, too.
Totally.
That'd be a great fit.
That's a great shout.
The one thing I will say about Detroit, though, in the playoffs, is I agree that they're deeply flawed on offense in the half court especially. My thing with Detroit and why I was so high on them coming into the season is they were still, like, inches away from having the edge on a Knicks team that went on to beat the Celtics. And I can't overlook that. Like 5 out of 6 of those games, I believe, were decided by like a 5-point differential. Yep. And it pretty much all came down to just Brunson was better than Cade down the stretch of games. That's basically what the difference was. And it's like if a few shots go in a different direction, we might be looking at the Pistons completely differently. So that's kind of where I'm like hanging on to. I'm like, Detroit showed that they can hang in the playoffs. So if you just improve on the margins in a few different areas, like I don't think they're a championship threat or anything, but I do think they're just a really good team.
They're definitely good. And it is going to come down to, okay, where are we getting that offensive juice other than Cade? And I do think Robinson has been good. And like he and LeVert were supposed to be kind of the de facto replacements for Malik Beasley, right? Duncan Robinson supposed to be that volume 3-point shooter, not as much as Malik, not as crazy off movement, but some semblance of that. And LeVert supposed to be another ball handler where they lost Schroeder, who was really important for them down the stretch last year. And I agree that they could probably get more out of LeVert. I don't know that he's the guy who's going to make a difference in a playoff series, but we'll see. I do think we can't really make final judgments until we see what version of Jaden Ivey we're getting out there, because I do think he's really important to what version of the Pistons we're ultimately going to see. I'm going to go a little bit deeper down the standings for my shout out. This is a team that we haven't talked about like at all this year, Logan. I got to shout out the 8-5 Phoenix Suns, dude. I did not see this coming. Logan is shaking his head no. Even if you think it's fake, you didn't think they were going to be 8-5. So you got to give them credit for that.
It's hella fake. It's hella fake.
All right, I'm not saying underrated here in the sense that I buy it long term. I'm just saying they have overachieved my expectations. They've won 7 of 8, and they've beaten a lot of shitty teams in that stretch.
Grayson Allen said, I'm getting buckets. I'm dropping
But they're
40.
pretty much crushing these shitty teams. And the Spurs win that got this streak started was very impressive. Like, Book is playing out of his mind. 28.5 points, 7 assists a game, 62% true shooting. He's just been sensational. They're 7th in offensive rating. The shooting has been phenomenal. Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, even like Colin Gillespie has given them good minutes and really good shooting. I think that like there's good player movement within this offense. Mark Williams has been pretty good for them, like good athletic play finishing big. And defensively, they're just very bought in. Like, they play really hard there. They scrap. They've got some quality wing defenders. They're an above-average defense so far. And so I looked at this roster, and I was just like, they are totally lacking offensive talent around Book. That was my big concern. And I was like, Book, as good as he is, he's not going to be able to single-handedly lift you to being, like, a good offense. And I looked at the defense, and I was like, meh. Like, the talent's okay, but how bought in are they going to be for this team that's going to suck? And, like, yeah, obviously the roster changed, but this group did go 3-17 without Kevin Durant last year. I shouldn't say this group because there's been changes, but the Suns were terrible without him, and I just thought, like, kind of all hope is lost. They are at least a competitive basketball team. They are at least a team that I think is going to win 30-something games. Would I pick them to even make the play-in? No, I would not. But they are respectable, and I commend them for that at least. And shout out Book for sticking it out.
Yeah, I agree. I was coming into the season, I genuinely thought Phoenix was going to be a bad defense. And my expectation was, in order for them to have enough offense around Booker and enough shooting, because they do have a ton of shooters just all across the depth chart, it was like, in order to get those offensive lineups on the court, they're going to have to sacrifice their defense. And then also Mark Williams being like a deeply flawed but truly defensive big.
Right.
I was like, there's just a lot that can go wrong here. Mark Williams, to me, has far exceeded expectations on defense. Yeah. He's just been incredible.
I agree.
Dylan Brooks is awesome. Ryan Dunn's been awesome. Royce O'Neal's been awesome. Like, now I'm kind of coming away, like they have the number 11 defense right now, and I expected them to be like a shoo-in for a bottom 10 defense. Not that I expect them to stay number 11, but it's just the fact that they've shown they have a gear. And to me, that's more than I expected. So I agree. And also, it's not really being talked about, so that'd be where the underrated comes in.
And the Mark Williams thing of it all is so huge because, like, he's always had these crazy defensive tools and yet these crazy defensive lapses as well. And this is the most defensively he's put it together. You know, he had a really good stretch his rookie year and then kind of fell off defensively. This is definitely the best that he's defended, at least since his rookie year, and they really need him because they're not playing Malawach. The big situation outside of him is dire. But, Logan, go ahead and just pour some water on this. And just
let me ask Logan a question real quick. Let me ask Logan a question because he seems low on the Suns, and you kind of hinted at, like, versus expectations. Logan, let me ask you this. If you thought 13 games into the season that Phoenix would have a better defense than Orlando and Portland, like, are you not impressed? Are you not impressed, man?
I mean, like, that in a vacuum is cool, but it's like, I don't know, man. I look at some of the teams they've beat, bro. I don't know if they have a good win on the season. Like,
the Spurs win was good.
Who is the best
had Wemby in hell.
Yes, and then look at every other game they've won since then. They beat the Clippers twice. They beat Utah. They beat New Orleans. They beat Dallas.
Contender Clippers,
they beat a bunch of shit teams.
Okay, here's what I'll say. Yes, I agree with you, and I literally said that off top. However, beating the Clippers twice is not nothing. I understand that
the Clippers suck. I'm about to take a dump on them in a second.
Okay, I know.
They
are not a talentless basketball team, though. They won 50 games last year. Yeah, they didn't have Kawhi, but, like, I can't say that's a fake nothing win.
I think
especially when you do it back-to-back games.
They also survived a hardened Avalanche. They won a hardened Avalanche game.
I got you. Phoenix is a good, shitty team. They have, like, a good bargain version of a good basketball team. They have a good superstar in Devin Booker. They have kind of shitty but decent wings, and then they have serviceable big men. So they're cool.
Wait, did you just call Book a bargain superstar? Is that what you said?
I mean, like, when we're talking about, he's not, like, top 10. He's not
he's not, but that's disrespectful phrasing to me because the top 10 is just so good. Like, Book is amazing.
Yeah, but he's not a number one on a championship team.
He was a number one on an NBA Finals team.
I'm just saying the Suns are a good, shitty team. Yeah, they're cool.
But also, like, that's a kind of crazy way to put it, I think. I don't know. That was
a
great
Dylan
team.
Brooks,
when you
man.
have a great team around him, Devin Booker can be the best player on a team that goes very deep. No, he's not going to carry you, but he is doing a lot to carry this offense right now.
Oh, I guess the Suns don't have any of their picks, so it doesn't. They have to be good. I was going to say, it'd be sick if the Suns could deal Book to Detroit.
Here's what I'll say, okay? Once you start looking in the play-in range, right now, the Blazers are the 8th seed. I like
Portland way more. I like Portland way more.
Okay, so do I. I like Portland more. The Warriors are the 9th seed. I think the Warriors are better than both of those teams. Everybody else in the West kind of sucks right now. I mean, like, the Kings suck, and they're probably about to abandon ship. The Mavs suck, and until they get healthy, Kyrie gets back, I don't know. It seems unlikely it's all going to come together for them. The Pelicans are totally cooked. The Clippers, Logan, you're saying that you hate and you're out on. The Jazz, they're playing better, Markkanen coming back, but we know that ultimately they're going to suck. The Grizzlies are falling apart. There's more teams in the West that are kind of falling apart at the seams right now than you would have thought, and so maybe there is an opportunity for the Suns to sneak into the play-in. There's 6 teams right now in the West that are 4-8 or worse, and I understand we're very early in the year, and, like, Memphis will play better, LA will play better, Dallas can't play worse and, like, should play better as they get healthier, if they get healthier.
Is Dylan Brooks the second best player for the Suns?
No. Maybe.
Mark Williams.
I think Mark Williams, Royce O'Neal,
Grayson
those
Allen.
guys
I think
have been close. Grayson Allen offensively is definitely their second best player.
I feel like the second best player. I think what makes Phoenix kind of like decent is the fact that their second best player by proxy is like 6 guys.
Yeah, I think that's very
They have like
true.
6 number 2s, and like
it's more like they have 6 number 4s.
Yeah,
but that's okay because it averages out
actual
still.
number 2s, but
Yeah.
like in terms of they have a lot of guys who are just bunched into this like clearly a positive player group that just like can like Grayson Allen will erupt for 10 threes, or Dylan Brooks will take a matchup out of the game, or Mark Williams will give you 20 and 10. It's like, or Colin Gillespie's had some crazy games. So it's like I do think it's just it's a collection of all of these playable NBA players, and then Booker playing like straight up playing like an MVP in a normal year. Obviously, this year the MVP standards are a little bit high, but
now we say he's playing like a top 10 MVP candidate. Because that's what it is. But yeah, he's balling out of control. I do want to give one more shout out here for a team that I actually am much higher on long term. Somebody who I was higher on coming into the year. I have to shout out the 8-5 Atlanta Hawks because they are 7-2 since Trey got hurt. Jalen Johnson just had this historic game where he had, 31 points, 18 rebounds, 14 assists, 7 steals. It's the first time we've ever seen that stat line. He is also part of a group of 3 guys averaging 21, 9, and 6 on 65% true shooting, an exclusive club that features Jokic, Giannis, and him. He's been so impressive. He continues to get better every single year, where it's like 2 years ago he was in most improved conversations. Last year, he was in most improved conversations before he got hurt. This year, I'm not saying he's in most improved conversations, but he's clearly improved again, and one of the best transition scorers in basketball, and just so damn versatile at his size, with his athleticism, with his driving and finishing, with his passing, and a positive defender. And overall, what's been really fun in Trey's absence is seeing them just like lean into these athletic, great defensive lineups. They're a top 5 defense. They're an elite transition margin team. They get out and score in transition a lot, and they keep you out of transition. And they have just enough guys who have stepped up offensively, where I said coming into the year, this is the most ball handling they've ever had around Trey. And it's not that they have like that upper echelon second ball handler. They just have a number of guys who can handle in spots. Jalen Johnson, obviously, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Dyson has been really good as a playmaker. He's towards the top of the league in rim assists. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like, it's not super efficient, but him just being able to take on the load to give you 17 points, 4 assists a game, which with awesome defense. Onyeka's offensive improvement when you look at the big situation. KP, like, I've liked his passing and his processing here. I've overall liked their collective passing. Like, they just have a lot of dudes who can make plays, and also dudes who can finish plays pretty well when you look at the front court. They're top 3 in assist percentage. They're top 5 in assist to turnover ratio. They just have a lot of good players, ultimately. You go down and you look at the depth, and it's like, yeah, Luke Kennard is a really good offensive bench contributor. I'm not going to say too much about Vit Krejci, but he's been playing well this year. Like, even
very well.
Very well. Like, Mo Gay, Keaton Mitchell, these guys who they have just found, like, they compete. They're good defenders. Like, I just think if you get Trey back, this defense should still be really good, because they just play way too many positive defenders for it not to be. That's the philosophy here. They have so many good athletes and good defenders around him. And then he can totally take this offense up another level to the point where they're actually a pretty good group, because right now it's a bunch of guys who are meant to be secondary, tertiary ball handlers, trying to be those sort of lead guys, just taking on a little bit more than they're built for. But I think they should be one of the best teams in the East.
The Hawks this year have kind of made me have a thought about a referendum on like small guards that aren't impactful defensively. Like, just about like Brunson and Trae Young and their impact on team basketball. It's like, yeah, this collective defense is so much better without Trae. Like, I know he's a special offensive player, but like, I don't know, man. It makes me wonder if it would be more worthwhile. Like, are the Hawks just better without him? Like, I get what he does.
The ban small guards movement started by the State of the League podcast. They're huge advocates for that. Well, they say kill small guards. That's a little much for me.
I don't know, man. I just wonder, like, again, it's not that big of a sample size. It's like 130 minutes, but like this defense is like 18.3 points better without Trae Young. That is a huge difference.
That number. Trae's played 4 games this year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like that's an anomaly. I'm saying that's been true every year of Trae's career. Not like that kind of differential. No, of course not. I'm just saying that, like,
he will more than make up the difference with his offense, because
even with
it's impressive how they've played without
and heliocentric Trae is. Because I'm saying when he's not out there, you don't have a defensive liability, and the ball doesn't stop as much.
but they're still like 20th in offensive rating. Like they can't be a good offense without Trey, and especially in the playoffs.
The Trey thing is super interesting, and to me, that's the ultimate question with this roster. I'm kind of with Logan too, where it's like I'm not ready to just say Trey is just a negative player or whatever, like to this team.
Yeah.
But more so like I am wait and see because Atlanta right now looks like a top 3 defense. And it's like if we get Trey back for a month and they just have a month stretch of like being a number 18 defense, then I'm kind of with Logan and I'm like, is the drawback worth it where like this 1 weak link, like the entire thing falls apart? I don't know if that'll be the case, but I do think there's something to be said about being a weak defender and also being small. Because, like, for example, if we were to go with, and I actually think Luka's looked pretty decent defensively this season, but even if you just, like, take Luka at his worst, at the very least, big, super long arms, strong, so it's like, you can hide him by just switching him onto everything. Trey can't switch onto anybody but point guards, so, like, you can't really hide him, he's going to be pulled into the action, and you basically just have to hedge everything, and it kind of just takes away everything Atlanta's doing right now, because it's like, instead of we have 5 good defenders, now it's, we are trying to play 3-on-4 at all times. And I think that's where it becomes really tough come playoff time. What's interesting to me, though, is this Atlanta roster is built in such a way that you can just have unlimited lineup versatility. And I do think what they're doing right now can just be like the recipe for the non-Trey minutes, and you'll just always dominate bench units. Because if you look across the board, I'm ready to make crazy statements about Krejci because I just think he's a ridiculously good offensive player. Crazy shooter, but more importantly, as like a connective playmaker, like stampeding out of the slot and just always making the right read. Like he's just a really good offensive player. So it's like if we have him and then all of these big defenders in one lineup, and then we use Trey only with like Dyson Daniels, Mo Gay, and Okongwu and these guys, it's like how can you possibly have a bad defense? Because straight up, I think Mo Gay is straight up one of the best defenders in the league. It's just like the offense is such a weak point that he'll only play like 20 minutes, but like his defense is absurd.
He's got the Jonathan Isaac syndrome, but pushed even further of like, he's only going to play 15 minutes a game, but in those 15 minutes, he's going to average like a steal and a half, a block and a half, crazy switchability. But yeah, his offense is bad, but like he's still worth playing because he's that good defensively.
The 2 games they've played against Orlando, he just like shuts Paolo out of the game individually because of his length and instincts. But then in another game, it's like, oh, he's our weak side guy and he's going to give us 4 blocks. And then it's like, he's insane. But it does remind me of Jonathan Isaac, similar set of tools. But yeah, I just think like, and Trey's one of the few offensive players who can survive in an environment where you have 2 or 3 non-shooters because of the tight needle passing and because of the tough shot making that he's going to take regardless of who's on the court. Then in those other minutes, that's where you go Krejci, Alexander Walker for more ball handling. You go Porzingis for more of an offensive punch. You go Jalen Johnson. And like the lineup versatility to me is Atlanta's superpower. They can do so many things.
Their depth is amazing. It's flat out amazing. Also, I think that I called Keaton Wallace Keaton Mitchell earlier. I do that in my head all the time because of the Ravens running back Keaton Mitchell. But Keaton Wallace should take priority because he's more important to my life because I like him out there. But yeah, I totally agree. And like I said, this was the vision for me coming into the year. It's like they've put the right kind of players around Trey to compensate well for his weaknesses, to have more ball handling, to have more viability without him on the floor, and then mix and match and have all these different groups they can go with. I still do think, though, they need the sort of like legit big-time playmaker, advantage creator that Trae Young is if they want to be like a deep playoff threat. Tyler, I picked this team to make the Eastern Conference Finals, so I've been in on the Hawks. I've been high on the Hawks, and like I'm feeling good about that right now. I'm feeling like it should all come together when Trey gets back out there. Contract year for him. He's got to be motivated. And if it doesn't, that will be damning to Trae Young. Like, if he does really hurt this team defense and he doesn't significantly help this team's offense, I'll be like, you know what, dude? It's just not efficient enough. It's just not conducive enough to winning the way that you play basketball. But I do ultimately think having somebody who can take that sort of offensive load on and do the things that he does out of pick and roll as a passer, getting to the free throw line, like, this team needs somebody who can do some version of that.
I do think in the regular season, I don't have any questions about Trey with this offense or with this team. It's specifically, I don't think we'll have an answer until we're like 4 games into the playoffs.
Right.
And to me, it's the fact that Trey clearly bleeds value defensively, but it's also the fact that he's not this flawless offensive player. Like, we've seen his
exactly.
size be exploited and his shot selection be exploited. Like,
Totally.
I'm thinking, what if Atlanta ends up in a series against Detroit, like a dogfight against Detroit, and it's like you have 5 6'8" defenders playing the gaps and switching everything, and it's like, where's Trey going to create advantages?
The switching is a big concern. But I will say this real quick, Logan. That's where I do think that healthy KP is such a great compliment to Trey, because he is the ultimate switch punisher, and so you can cover up for his big weakness there. That's part of the reason I love that move so much. He's a great compliment in the pick and pop game. He's been rolling a little more, but like specifically that switch beating thing, they need somebody who can do that.
That's what I'm getting at with these league-wide trends that I'm talking about, though. Like, Tyler, I think you put a bow on it pretty well, though, because it's not just the defensive liabilities. It is the fact that he is an imperfect offensive player. But the Detroit point is a good one, because I'm thinking about these teams like a Miami, where, like, we're talking about them without a Tyler Hero. And I don't think it's a one-to-one comp by any means, because I think Trae Young is a better offensive player, but you're looking at them, and they're playing more selfless around the board. They have these jumbo-sized lineups where you can just mismatch attack with anybody on the floor. The defense isn't taking a major hit, and I just wonder if we're moving to this point in the NBA where we are getting to a point where you have to be one of the best offensive guards in the league, or you're not going to be on the floor because you are weak defensively. And then offensively, it's like, I would rather have a big guy out there who can attack a mismatch and do some of these little connective things. I don't know. That's something this year that has made me have a big picture taking a look at, like, is this where the league is headed? Is this archetype still viable? And especially now that we have almost a 10-game sample size of the Hawks without Trey looking really good.
It's super interesting, dude. It's one of the most fascinating phenomena that is going on this season, like this fact that certain teams are basically taking a no-point guard approach. Or at least like they're playing a lot of no point guard minutes. Like, I think that Trey is ultimately a positive for this team, because I think he is good enough offensively to set off that balance. But Logan, these thoughts are brewing in my head as well. I think it's super interesting. We talk about this weak link league. We talk about how, it is an issue when you have a Brunson defensively, a Garland defensively, a Trey defensively. But then there's also like the reality that you need dudes who can make plays. You need dudes who do have that shot making ability, like the ability to get into the paint, to get into the teeth of the defense. All these things that these great offensive guards do.
I guess what this has really made me think about is more, all I've said I think is true, but more so like the last 4 years or post Eastern Conference final run for the Hawks specifically, because every year we go, they're not this good of a defense, but the offense is really elite when Trey's out there. Is Trey's style of play the sole reason why? I guess is my question. His rigidity.
To kind of build off of that, the offenses haven't been good in the playoffs. Like, that Miami series was a complete disaster.
Terrible.
And 2023, it took Trey like 5 games to figure it out, and by then the series is over. I mean, again, granted, you're facing Boston, so it's like not fair.
Yeah.
But it took him like 4 games to have a good game. And it's like, for a team that wants to be competitive, that relies so much on one guy to produce offense. If it takes you 4 or 5 games because of the volatility of your shot diet to have an efficient scoring game, then it's like we're playing from a hole. Like we're starting the series just at it. Or it could be the inverse. It could be he has 4 hot games to start the series. You're 2-2, and then the last 3 games he's just shooting tour dates. And it's like, what do we do? I do think Trey is the penultimate example of this, because I do think with Brunson, you have a floor offensively.
For sure.
That's like, he has some of these limitations, but also you always know what you're going to get from him offensively.
Yep.
So there's just always a floor there. With Trey, it feels like you need him at his ceiling, or things just kind of go really south.
I agree. We have had some brutal Trey playoff performances, and that's where, like, as I was laying out the things that, like, these great offensive guards provide you that offset the defensive issues, as I was going through them, I was like, not all of these things apply to Trey. Like, when it comes to shot making, it's like, sometimes, like Brunson, the shot making is always amazing. It's super versatile. He's going to get to his spots. The floor is really high. I even think Garland is a better offensive player than Trey. There are certain things that Trey can do that Garland can't when it comes to, like the crazy free throw volume, right? That's valuable. But the shot making gap is huge. I mean, Garland is a flat out elite shot maker. Trey's very good from floater range. Garland takes it up another level. Trey has crazy range, but he might shoot 30% from three in a series. Garland is a significantly better shooter. He's a great passer. I've always thought it'd be interesting to see, like, what if he really was handed the keys to an offense, kind of like Trey has been, and he's a much better off-ball player, Garland is. So, yeah, you're right. Trey is, like, kind of pushing it to the extreme of, like, all right, let's take this guy who is ultimately a pretty great offensive player, and we've seen him significantly elevate what would be bad team offenses in recent years. I think what he did last year with the spacing and the skill around him, like, that was really impressive offensively in the regular season, but then he's also had all these playoff flaws. He does have the shot making, the shot selection, the size, the athleticism concerns, all this on top of the really bad defense. It's going to be fascinating to see how much better they get with him out there.
Is like Logan keeps talking about league-wide trends, but also like league-wide adjustments is a big thing. I think we've had this conversation specifically where we all kind of, I think Carson, you and I agreed that like in a vacuum, the best Steph Curry has ever been was 2021, but right. 2016 Steph, the league didn't know what they were seeing. They were still playing two slow-footed bigs, and so if you just set a high ball screen 30 feet out, it just broke defenses. So relative to that season, he was so much more valuable. I think a similar thing has kind of happened with Trae Young, where in 2022 specifically, you could just hand him any collection of players and they were a top 5 offense. It was just spread pick and roll over and over again. But now we're getting to a point where ball pressure and length at the point of attack are emphasized. And even Quinn Snyder had an interview before the season where he he referenced a stat that like the average height of players picking up Trae is like 6'7", and it's like 10 feet higher. And things like this. So it's like the league has adjusted to Trae's style, and he has not improved since then. I actually think that's also kind of what's happening with Ja Morant. The league adjusts to you, and can you adjust back is the question. And I think what Atlanta was showing at the very beginning of this season was getting Trae off ball more, getting him more in a spot to make decisions on the fly. I think that helped, but I don't think it solves the root of the issue. So I do think Atlanta is in a weird spot where I see the vision, but I can't get fully sold on them against some like other playoff teams in a series.
Trae also sucked before he did get hurt this year. He's playing really badly.
He did.
That's a great point, Tyler. I mean, we always talk about that in the NFL, like how, quarterbacks year one, you get tape on a guy and then you make an adjustment. I do think teams have figured him out a little bit better. The final piece I was just going to say on this is, Trae's on a player option for $49 million next season. Like, I don't know. Then you have that crossroads because it's like next season he accepts it. You're going to have to pay him an extension long term. Like, I would use this year as kind of like a trial run. Like, is he going to continue to be our building block of the future, or do we go in a completely new direction with? And I like it. I like where the Hawks are at with these auxiliary pieces right now. You have got athleticism, youth, and size, and those are things that every good team has nowadays. And you got a lot of skill, like Shai, I like as a building block of the future. I really like Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson. Is he going to continue to blossom and get even better? I think the Hawks are in a good spot, and I wonder with the salary cap situation if they would be doing more harm re-upping him to a long-term big money contract when, again, your team is very, very good now without him, and you would have a ton of flexibility if you shopped him or didn't re-sign him.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out this year. But I do agree, like, there is a lot of young, athletic wing talent here. And we'll see how much that is a situation where it's like, oh, yeah, these guys are complimenting Trae, but we need Trae to put us over the top offensively. Or is it going to be, hey, Trae's too flawed offensively. He's not putting us over the top. And at this point, like, let's start from scratch. Let's see if we can find somebody who is still like that lead guard that they're going to need in some way, shape, or form. But here's the lead. Let's not bury this. How about this outcome? The Pelicans get the first overall pick, and then it's like, holy shit. Now we're talking about something. Now we're talking about if you can get Darren Peterson, forget about Trae. Darren Peterson actually is not number one on my board right now. However, if I were the Hawks, I would take Darren Peterson because that is like the fucking ultimate vision of like the guard built for today's NBA, where it's like, yes, he's great on ball and he's great off ball and he's a good athlete and driver and he's an elite shooter and he's a good playmaker and he's totally big and athletic enough to hold his own defensively. Like, woo, I just got a little excited thinking about that. Dude, here's what I'll say before we move on from this. And people who are fans of shitty teams are going to get mad at me for this. I really want to see the top lottery picks this year go to teams that already have something going. Like, I hope the Pacers win the lottery just because I think that would be so cool because they'd be so talented. I hope the Hawks like get a really high pick because I'm like, the Wizards, it's been done.
Well, like, think about how fun it was for, like, VJ Edgecombe to go to Philly. That's electric. That's awesome.
It's awesome, dude. It's awesome. And, like, these talents are so special. I want to see them.
Dylan Harper going to San Antonio.
situations.
I know he's missed some time, but, like, that's awesome.
Cooper Flag to the Mavs.
Cooper Flag to the Mavs. Yeah, Cooper Flag to the Mavs. Speaking of that, Tyler, which team has disappointed you most this NBA season so far?
Great segue. It's the Dallas Mavericks. Actually, I have two teams. I have the Mavs and the Clippers. Two teams that I was high on. I actually had the Clippers. I'm still not out on the Clippers completely, but I had them in my top 5 before the season. Like, I thought they were a top 5 team. I was very high on the Clippers, and they are just a disaster. The Mavs, though, I had the Mavs as a top 10 team, and I think we've talked about this on this show. Like, they're the floor there, that, like, with the size, the rebounding, the interior defense, I cannot wrap my head around what Dallas is doing. For one, the Cooper Flag point guard thing, I get it for his development. That obviously isn't the best way to go about winning now, but I get it.
Yeah.
What doesn't make sense to me is we're playing lineups with Cooper Flag at the 1, and we are the worst offensive rebounding team in the league. What is happening? Like, we're not playing in transition at all. We're not getting any offensive rebounds. So, like, the defense has been mostly good, I feel like. Like, even in lineups where they have D'Lo and Clay out there, like, the defense has been mostly good. They straight up look like the worst offense I've ever seen.
I think they have the worst. Yeah, I think they're dead last in half-court offense still right now.
I think most of it is a schematic issue. Like, obviously, the personnel is not great without Kyrie, especially, and without AD recently, too.
Yeah.
But, like, there's things they should be doing in the margins, like winning the offensive rebounding battle or playing in transition after getting stops, that they just flat out aren't doing. So what ends up happening is they just, like, look like they're a high school offense against NBA defenders.
Just to add real quick,
shooting has also been horrific. They've been the worst shooting team in basketball.
Yeah.
They're second to last in half-court offensive rating, and they're also second to last in offensive rebound rate.
That, like, literally would have been unfathomable to me coming into the year. It was
I thought they were going to be like Houston.
I literally said outside of Houston, they're going to be the best rebounding team in basketball.
That's what I said,
it doesn't
too.
make sense.
Yeah.
They haven't had their front court, right? But the thing is, like, when you play Flag at point guard, obviously he has fewer offensive rebounding opportunities. So, like, you're losing out on a guy who should be a huge plus offensive rebounder at his position because he's starting initiating the offense most of the possessions. I've thought and talked a lot about this. I think for the long-term benefit of Flag, it is still best that he play with another actual ball handler for a majority of his minutes. I just think, like, throwing him into some of these totally inept offensive lineups as the point guard, like, that's not a simulation of any actual offensive role and situation he's ever going to be in. I don't think that Cooper Flag is a point guard long term. And I get you want to get him those on-ball reps as a ball handler, but, like, he's always going to be somebody who is, yes, playing with the ball in his hands, being a playmaker on ball, but also doing a ton of stuff around that off ball connectively. And to, like, say, let's roll out the ball as you're 18 years old. We're going to play you with the worst offense around you in basketball. Like, he needs to get better as a finisher. He needs to get better as a pull-up shooter. His touch needs to get better. His handle is the biggest thing that has to get better. Like, but that's not a surprise. Like, we could have said that stuff coming into the year. And specifically, I said there's going to be too much on his plate without Kyrie until he comes back. And they have put as much on his plate as they possibly could. Like, it's insane. It's insane how bad that offense is.
What's so frustrating, too, what you're talking about, Carson, is it's not only the fact that they are setting him up for failure by putting him in a role that he's not equipped for yet by running so much with him at point guard. They are also stripping him of the things that he does well right now by not running him, running off-ball screens with a D'Lo or letting him, play off-ball and curl around to the wing and initiate. Like, that's where Flag shined the most, when you had an initial advantage created for him where he could do the connective stuff. I agree with you. I still don't get it. I would be playing D'Lo. I would be starting D'Lo. I know he sucks.
D'Angelo Russell is not starting a point guard.
They've been starting a point guard the last 5 games, but now it's been Brandon Williams.
He looked good. He looked good the other night. I'll give him that.
Either one of them, Flag is dramatically better with them on the floor, and the offense is dramatically better with the point guard on the floor. Like, there's a crazy difference if you look at the numbers and if you watch, because the offense without a point guard is unwatchable.
Yeah. Well, the development thing, too, scares me. Like, I don't think I don't know. I think everyone realizes this, but it seems like Jason Kidd right now, or whoever's instructing him to put Flag at point guard, isn't registering that, like, there's a such thing as negative development. And what I'm worried about is that when you throw someone like Cooper Flag into the fire like this in these lineups that have no shooters, and it's like the habits that he's going to build, the tendencies he's going to build are just all negative. It's like look at how many long twos he's settling for already. And it's like, what if, like, year 5 the spacing improves, but he's still thinking in his head, like, he's wired to look for that long two.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like something happened with Paolo.
I don't worry about that as much because Flag is a guy who has always played up and he has always figured it out. Like, even if you go back last year at Duke, right? This guy's 17 years old, was supposed to be the best player in the country. And early in the year, he wasn't. His first 10 games were rough. And then he was the best player in the country. Like, he did improve. He did figure out. I think he's so smart. He's so competitive. But nevertheless, like, what you're saying is not nothing to me. Like, the threat of that development of bad habits or of just, like, ruining a player's confidence. Like, when you say, hey, here's the thing that you need to work on the most. This is now your biggest job in this ridiculously bad situation. Like, that could break people. I don't think it will for Flag. I think he is so proven as a talent and a competitor and mentally and all these things. But, man, are they making life as hard on him as possible. So I think it's going to get better. I think it's already, like, trending upwards overall, right? If you look at recent games, the game against Milwaukee was the best that he's played. The New Orleans game I thought was quite good overall. His touch had to be better, but he was comfortably getting to the shots you want to see him getting to. Like, he's coming into his own. He's going to get better. And if we see Kyrie this year, that will do a lot for him, is ultimately my take on it. But, yeah, I don't agree with the strategy of, like, let's throw everything at him all at once right now. I think that that's kind of crazy. Anything else on the Mavs, Logan, or do you want to get to the Clippers, the other main act here?
We don't have to talk about the Clippers.
Yeah, you know, he's right. The Clippers are old and stinky, and everybody's washed. Beal's out for the season. Chris Paul is unplayable. Lopez and Batum are slowly going to wither away, I believe, into just clouds of dust.
I'm not ready to write off Nick Batum.
I'm ready for that. The Clips are cooked. I am ready to write the Clippers off. I've always been a Clippers skeptic. I'm just so angry that I bet on them this season.
I'm mad. Well, not mad, but I really did not think Chris Paul would fall off this hard. Like, I thought, because he started all 82 games for the Spurs last year and was a legitimately good starter. And I, like, in my Clippers preview video, one of the things I said, I was like, one thing that will never be taken away from Chris Paul is that he is a reliable organizer of offense who can run a bench unit. I was wrong. I was wrong.
He's a Wemby
Do you guys
merchant.
know how many 2-pointers Chris Paul has made this year?
0.
1.
And you know what's crazy?
2 points.
I was watching a game with one of my friends, and one thing I picked up on, I can't remember which Clippers game it was. It wasn't too long ago. It might have been the last game Chris Paul played. I like told my friend to watch. I was like, Chris Paul has not taken a single dribble inside the arc this whole game. He was playing 30 feet out permanently, and it was just sad to watch.
I kind of thought that, like, the elbow little fall away would never, like, go away for him, because into his late 30s, like, that's a shot that, you know, requires so little athleticism to still be able to get to, and, like, yeah, now he's
not even quick enough to get to that shot.
Do that. No, that's what I'm saying.
He gets a screen.
Pointer.
He gets a screen, picks up his dribble at, like, the 3-point line, and then just, like, waits for something to material. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, like, because, like you said, what athleticism is required to just, like, take those 2 extra dribbles and get to the nail? Like, is it just his body's broken and he can't do it? Maybe. Or is it, like, mentally he's just checked out? I don't know.
Guy's 40 years old.
Yeah, I think it's a body thing. That would be my guess.
He's got, like, if we really take it to the place of, like, giving 20 quality seasons, best guard longevity other than Stockton in NBA history. So, like, all the credit to him. Like, last year, he still had a notably positive impact on Wemby's offense. Like, he was still doing that, but yeah, it has just totally fallen off, which sucks.
I will say, like,
I love CP3, but
the one guy I do really like for the Clippers is John Collins. I think Collins has been good, and I think not that I have like high expectations for him. You kind of know what he is at this point. I do think the Clippers should improve the more they realize that John Collins is a good player. Like, I feel like Ty Lue doesn't know John Collins is a pretty good player.
I totally agree. They need
just
to
like refuses to play him.
Yeah, no, that's crazy to me. Well, Ty Lue also referred to Bradley Beal as their third best player.
That was
crazy.
Like,
it's tough losing.
That was crazy.
Like, what? I mean, because, yeah, Beal's out for the year, but Beal was so bad. Like, I looked at the Beal, Chris Paul additions, and I was like, this is a nice little bargain way to get yourself some more ball handling for the non-Harden minutes, like maybe to even help float you a bit when Kawhi inevitably gets hurt in the regular season. And both of those complete disasters. And yeah, I don't know that we're going to see either one of them again this year because Beal's obviously done with injury and Chris Paul just can't play. So that's been brutal.
Right now have the number 26 defense.
I know.
That to me is, it will improve. It will improve.
Yeah.
But I also think like they just have a very clear lack of size around Zoo. Like they're just always being out athleticismed and out strengthened.
Yeah.
And, like they just get beat up by everything.
I would be running a ton of Collins. Even if your shooting takes a little bit of a hit, I think it would be worthwhile to have Collins and Derrick Jones Jr. out there. Honestly,
Collins shot the shit out of the ball last year. He's been shooting it well.
The guy that they're really missing is Norm Powell, though, man. Like, I really miss him on this team. I would play Bogey more. I would play DJ more. I would play Collins more.
Why is their defense so bad? Like, I understand, like I said, like the athleticism thing, but like they still have crazy, way too good of personnel to be that bad.
I mean, I know from some of the games, like, well, one, they're the worst transition defense I think in basketball. Like they are slow.
They didn't listen to the shirts.
I mean, they just get outgunned in transition a lot, and then I think the Clippers are a team that when they're in these lineups with Big Zoo and Brook Lopez, they've run a very rigid defense that. You know, it's straight drop cut. Brook can't play defense anymore. I mean, he's just too old. Like, you get him in space and he's cooked. Zoo is a little bit better, but
I think Zoo's been bad this year. Like,
no, I think he's been bad. He's better, but they both play that same system where if you can, like the Jazz, the first game of the year ran it to perfection, but it was just off-ball screens and movement, and then running whoever the big was, their guy to the top of the key for an open shot. I just think they're too old. That's my conclusion with LA. I think their depth is nowhere near as good as I thought it was going to be, and that was the strength of this team, their lineup versatility and depth, and they're ancient. And so I look at that, I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I think they're chopped.
I think one of the biggest keys here that we cannot overlook that is like at the source of so many of their problems, and Logan, you did mention it, they are just getting busted in transition, both sides of the ball, every game. They're losing the transition margin by like 8.5 points per game. They are so slow.
That and their offensive rating plummets. And I mentioned this last time we talked about the Clippers without Harden.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're somehow more dependent on Harden.
It is like even worse than the numbers. It's like the visible. They do not know how to play offense without Harden on the court. It's bad. It's really
so bad. Everything that could go wrong for them has gone wrong. Okay, this is a crazy stat. Holy shit, I'm finding even more about what I was just saying. They're a 77th percentile half-court offense, and their offense is still 21st because they get nothing in transition. Like, that's crazy.
And what's the scariest part about that is bringing Kawhi back does nothing for your transition game at all. He's strictly a half-court player.
If anything, makes it worse. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it's really bad. Like, I looked at this team on paper. I thought they've addressed the depth with more ball handling, more front court depth. Harden is always going to give you a regular season offensive floor. This was the number 3 defense in basketball last year. They have a floor there. I mean, like, it's crazy because, like, we're not even really mentioning Kawhi's absence as a reason that this team sucks so much because, like, we all know that without Kawhi last year, they went 24-21. Like, they had a formula to winning basketball games. It was what Harden could do offensively as a floor raiser, and it was this great defense. And now they have just deteriorated on both sides of the ball. And Harden is still doing his job. I mean, he deserves his credit because, like, he's still playing really well offensively.
This is the team that needs Ron Holland.
Yeah.
They need that
But,
energy, that athleticism, and that transition play. That's what
they're
need.
playing Derrick Jones Jr. and they're playing Chris Dunn, and it still hasn't been nearly enough. I think Collins is the guy they have to turn to the most, but I don't know. We talked about this earlier, like very early on. We were like, are we hitting the panic button with the Clippers? And I was like, things don't look good. I still think with the formula they had last year, with the names they have on paper, they should be able to get close to 50 wins. And now I'm like, it's probably a 500 team. I don't think it's going to stay this bad, but they look bad right now, and I think they are mediocre.
Is there a timeline on Kawhi?
Is there ever?
I know, but like I think
I
that's what all
don't know.
like I still think this team with Kawhi is still just a really good team because just the talent on both sides of the ball. Even if they are,
Do you think they're really good with Kawhi?
I think so. Yeah, I understand the flaws. I don't think they're a contender, but
Yeah.
like I still think they could play like at a 50-win pace with Kawhi if he is in the lineup for extended time.
I mean, dude, they were 17-3 last 20 games last year. They were top 2 in offensive and defensive rating. And, like, that's the stretch when Kawhi started
Right?
looking
Like,
like
have
himself.
they fallen off that much? Like, I don't think so.
It doesn't make sense logically. And yet, when you watch the games and look at the numbers, it looks like some of the most, like, crazy single-season regression from a team that hasn't changed that much on paper that, like, I've ever seen. So that's where I'm holding out, and I'm like, I think they'll win 41 games. I don't know if I can go beyond that.
It's so weird. I don't know what to. I'm kind of like staying away from the Clippers because I just don't know what to make of it. Because like Logan said, like the Brook Lopez thing, like obviously he's not ideal. He's still better than what Ben Simmons was as the backup five. You
The
know,
Ben Simmons, Drew Eubanks options, like yeah,
right?
Brook Lopez
And
should
it's
be
like
a good
it's still
backup
it just doesn't
center.
matter. And same thing, like even if Chris Paul is non-playable, it's not like they had Chris Paul last year. The backup point guard last year was Chris Dunn. He's still there. Like nothing's really changed from
Bogey has sucked.
The thing that's weird is like with the roster changes they made, the only downside from last year was Norman Powell. And it's like Norman Powell's not the difference between a number 2 defense and a number 26 defense. If anything, he was a negative. So it's like, yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird.
Yeah. And it's not like they've had like crazy bad shooting luck early in the year. Like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of concerning stuff going on. Actually, they haven't had good shooting luck, but that's certainly not the sole problem here. So I am concerned about the Clippers. I am very concerned and very surprised and very disappointed. Like, ultimately, they're the choice for me just because I think the Mavs have more excuses, like with all the injury stuff. And also, I thought the Mavs were not going to be very good to start the regular season. My excitement with them was when Kyrie is out there late in the year, they can surge. That's when they can really find their rhythm and maybe be a threat. I thought the Clippers had like a super bankable formula to be a very steady regular season team, even if Kawhi missed some time, because they just did it last year and it's been the complete opposite.
Dude, I mean, just the defensive stuff is actually hilarious going through some of these advanced play types. Second worst defense defending spot up possessions. Like,
yeah,
just laughably bad stuff.
I think teams are shooting over 39% from 3 against them. So, like, that should come back to earth a little bit. But, you know, if teams are shooting 37% against them from 3, this is still a bad defense. Which
I think if we're ready to move on from the Clippers, one other team that I think I'm not as disappointed in them because I wasn't as high on them as everyone else was. But I know, like, sportsbooks had them at, like, 51.5 wins, which was absurd. The Magic, like,
oh yeah,
it's a good shout.
I'm like I said, I'm not disappointed because I was not that high on them. I actually got flamed on Twitter for like I think my prediction for them was like 46 wins, and they were like, well, they won 47 2 years ago with a worse team. And I was like, well, first of all, that's not how season progression works. But also, like, this Orlando team is still very deeply flawed on both sides of the ball. The defense to me should come back to earth, but some of that is the new offensive system, the fast pace and things like that. Like, they're just not getting back on defense as much. They're not a good transition defense. And then also, the more Jonathan Isaac's minutes continue to deteriorate, he's such a big part of their defense. Losing KCP as your primary point of attack guy is another. I mean, of course, Suggs is there, so that helps. But like, it was a two-headed snake. Now it's Suggs and Bane. Who Bane's not a bad defender, but he's not KCP. And the team just has so many offensive weak points across the board. I will say, really encouraging win against the Knicks. That was a big game.
Yeah.
and I do really like someone like I really like Tristan da Silva.
So
I think
do
he's a
I.
good player. I also really like Jace Richardson, and I can't understand why he doesn't play, considering their flaws. I will say I did expect more from Tyus Jones. He's been really bad. I thought he'd be good.
Horrible.
I thought he'd be pretty good for them. But no, yeah, Orlando to me, for most people, that should be a pick. Like they have disappointed a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. They are disappointing to me. I was not high on them. Like I had Atlanta above them, but I still thought that they were certainly going to be one of the better teams in the East. I thought there's too many question marks offensively, still too much that would like need to get figured out with Paolo and Franz, who are both talented but really flawed, like as the offensive guys for this to be a team that like I'd be confident in making an Eastern Conference Finals run or anything that like a lot of people were picking them to do. But I did think that like the Bane fit was really good. I thought this offense would look respectable, and the defense not being the same is part of it, but also I really don't like the offense. Like I think statistically it has been better. The Knicks game was very good, but there's just a lot that I don't like in terms of their utilization of players. And Paolo, like the shot diet has gotten better because he's getting to the line more. He's taking fewer threes. There's a little more rim pressure there, but his shooting has just been so bad. So like I still feel like fundamentally he has all of the same flaws pretty much, and nothing is just like panning out as you would have hoped if you were a Magic fan. You know, Anthony Black is still a very flawed offensive player. Jonathan Isaac, yeah, he's regressed to the point where it's like he can't even consistently play. I thought Tyus Jones would be a nice backup point guard for them. He's been horrible. Jace, I thought would be a nice offensive fit for them. He's not playing. Like, if we just go through the East and it's like, how many teams do you like more than them? Cleveland, Milwaukee, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta. And, like, there are more teams that have played better than them, but I think that's where I go in terms of playoff outlook. But, like, Miami has played better than them. The Raptors have played better than them. It's been disappointing for a team that spent 4 first-round picks to get Desmond Bane. I mean, let's not forget that. And the whole vision was we have the two guys. We just need to put the right pieces around them. It's not working.
The point that Tyler made is really interesting to me about them in transition. They're actually the third most efficient transition scoring offense, but they're the 4th worst transition defense, and it's almost offset. It's like a push-pull kind of thing. It's like they could slow down and get slow again, and then their defense would crank back up, and then they're giving it all back. I think the Magic are fake. We don't have to spend a ton of time on them because we talked about them a lot. I think the Knicks have been pretty damn disappointing this far. Like, not that I have high expectations for them in the championship context, but I thought they were going to be the team that took advantage of teams being injured and get off to. I thought they were going to have the hot start that like Detroit has gotten out to, and I'm just moving closer and closer to what I thought I think the Knicks might be screwed long term, man. Like, I think Bridges is not that good. I think Cat just sucks. Like, Cat can have his games, man. But I hate watching. Cat is my least favorite player to watch in the league, bro.
You can't say he sucks.
When Cat's having a bad game, I don't want to watch anybody else more, bro. Cat actually angers me.
He's one of the worst and most catastrophic players we've seen in
Him
a
and
long time.
Sabonis, I think, are my least 2 favorite players.
Okay, hater Logan drinking the haterade, bringing up Sabonis out of nowhere as always. Cat offensively, I still think is awesome. He hasn't been playing awesome this year, but like he has such a proven track record as this freakishly talented offensive big. But yeah, I don't think we learned anything new about the Knicks. I don't know. I know a lot of people looked at them as like top 5 title contender. I've never been there with them. I think the defense is so fundamentally flawed, just like being built around Brunson and Cat. I think the offense has looked good. I think the pace has picked up a little bit under Mike Brown, but like I just don't think any of that is changing the core flaw that this team does have. So I wouldn't have them as one of my most disappointing. I would just kind of have them as one of my most mad. Like, I feel like we know what the future is. Even when they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, I was like, they're not going to be able to overcome these same core flaws that they have being built around 2 horrible defensive players you desperately need offensively.
I do think, yeah, to me, this start to the season has just been the adjustment period to the new offense. Like, the offense is way different. One stat that really stands out to me is every one of the teams, like average seconds per touch is way down. Just emphasizing quick decisions, playing on the fly, moving the ball. Like even Brunson's down to like 4 seconds from like 5.5, 6 seconds from last year. Bridges has been handling the ball a lot as an initiator. He's having like a career high season in assists. To me, Cat is just the type of player who it's going to take a while for him to adjust. So like his numbers are going to be down for a while, and he's had like a few moments here and there. But I think by the end of the season, the Knicks should be as good as they were last year, if not a little bit better, because I do think their depth is a little bit better.
It is a little bit better. I still don't like it. I still don't like Josh Hart having an important playoff role. Like, there's just a lot of holes in the Knicks.
Jordan Clarkson's shot selection to me is the craziest thing, because he's like a 31. Like, I don't know what his 3-point percentage is, but, like, he's never a great 3-point shooter. He's, like, a perfectly fine 3-point shooter who, like, hunts for transition pull-up threes and stuff. It is baffling to me. Like, in that Magic game, he kept taking transition pull-up threes. I'm like, dude, you're, like, a 32% shooter. Like, who's giving him this green light?
He has given himself the greenest light of all time. I think it's just a product of playing on shitty teams for his entire career. Jordan Clarkson so briefly was on good teams in Utah, and then other than that, it's just been like a bunch of shitty teams. And he was on the 2018 Cavs for like the post-trade deadline stretch of that. He just plays unserious basketball, totally unserious basketball.
I thought Brogdon was going to be so good, and then he retired.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that was a good ad until it wasn't an ad at all. Yeah, I think it's kind of too early to call some of this stuff with the Knicks. I do like the shift in offensive philosophy. I think it unlocks a higher playoff ceiling for them. I think so much was on Brunson's playing like in these stagnant positions. I think more ball movement, more player movement, more dudes making quick decisions, more emphasis on three-point volume. All these things are good for them. I like Mike Brown a lot as an offensive coach. But, like, I said that coming into the year, and still, like, to me, it's putting a Band-Aid on, like, a big old gash, It just is something. It's an improvement. But Knicks fans, they're so obsessed with Tibbs, the lack of offensive creativity. That's what was holding us back. And it's like, well, that was one thing. And then the other thing is that you had like a 119 defensive rating when your two best players were on the floor together, and you can put both of them in the action every single time, and a good offense will get a great shot every time. They never had a chance against Indiana because of that.
Cat right now is shooting 54% inside 3 feet. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say, bro.
Dude, that's just straight hating. That's just straight hating.
That's a stat. That is factually correct. You can go and fact check that right now.
No, okay, you're right. That is a fact. But it's not something that is going to hold up.
See, that's what makes it hate. You're intentionally pulling a stat that you know is not going to hold up.
If he can't physically overpower somebody, he just throws that Dude, I watched him airball like 3 layups against the Magic the other night, bro.
Cat drives are maybe the worst thing to watch in basketball.
But it's so weird because sometimes he goes into this mode where he'll just like take over games with driving. Like there was a game, like the fourth quarter of game 5, was it against Indiana? Where he just drops like 18 in the first 6 minutes. It's just straight drives.
He was cooking Miles Turner all series, but the reason that I say it's horrible, it's not because they aren't effective, it's because they're ugly. They're so physical. It's like, yes, he's coordinated for being a 7-footer, but like they are ultimately these kind of janky, so much contact. There's a foul every single time, whether it gets called or not. Like, Cat is either pushing off, like using his offhand way too much, or the defender's fouling him. And, like, I just think maybe they should be banned because I don't even know how you officiate that.
Cat's
like, literally, there's a foul every single drive.
Cat's fouls are the most frustrating thing on a basketball court. Like, he'll have 3 fouls and then, like, punch someone in the face on a drive. And you're like, what are you doing, man?
And then he goes...
Well, and then my favorite Cat reaction is specifically in the Orlando game. He had all those goofy ass drives where he's getting walled up and then he airballs it. And then one possession, he misses a layup off the basket, gets his own rebound, cashes the baby hook on the second chance, and then flexes super hard. Like, yeah.
I don't know. I've always rooted for Cat because I think he gets a lot of unfair insults hurled at, like, just his disposition.
Oh, for sure.
Like, the way he is as a guy, and like that shit sucks, and fuck that. And I always have thought, he's such a talented offensive player, but the defense is so bad. Like, I'm just out on him as a player who you can really win with.
I purely dislike him because of the aesthetics of his game.
No,
I think he plays an ugly brand of basketball.
I know. Well, on the flip side of that, Logan, Before we let you go, Tyler, from this 2-hour plus podcast, and we thank you for your time, let's go positive. We know who you hate the most. You've made that very clear throughout this podcast and many podcasts. Which player's game have you grown to appreciate the most this year? Somebody who's grown on you.
This is a really interesting question. I wrote down a lot of names here from guys that have impressed me. I actually think the one that has moved me the most is probably – I'll start off with this guy. I think probably Josh Giddey, man. Just like in terms of his viability is oh, come on. No, we gotta hate on the guys that you hate now? Look.
Nah, he's been good.
I don't know if Giddey's like a number one on a championship team or anything like that. Like I think some of the triple double numbers are crazy. Like you'll hear people.
You don't know?
I'm just
You
saying.
can't
Like,
confidently say that he's not.
Didn't Logan just say that Booker's not a championship?
No, wait.
But Giddey might
Hold
be.
on a second here. What the hell are we doing?
I just
I
need
need you to renounce that and say, I know that he is not a number one on a championship team, and then you can give your compliment.
I'm just saying.
Holy shit.
People would look at his box score numbers and go, wow, he's Russell Westbrook. He's Nikola Jokic. Holy shit. I just mean it like that, bruh. He's obviously not a triple-double. He's not Oscar fucking Robertson. My fault. Anyway, I didn't think he was even viable as a number one on a good team, and watching him as the lead ball handler, he's improved his touch. He's a serviceable, passable shooter of the basketball now. I just think Giddey is a guy that you can actually put the ball in his hands in a half-court situation, and he can lead to good team offense. I think when he's been available and healthy, Chicago's offense has been very impressive. The ball has moved around. He's moved me. Like the other guys that I wrote down, Alex Sarr, Jaime Jaquez, like I've been really impressed with both of those guys' development, but those are guys that I had a certain level of embedded faith and confidence that they would develop and be really good rotation guys, whereas with a guy like Giddey, I never really believed in. I think he's had the biggest like kind of 180 in terms of my perception of him before the season to this point.
6'8" Steve Nash, right? That's
settle down.
Honestly,
Watch
Steve
it.
Nash, Steph Curry, maybe.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson's the one.
Magic
actually.
Johnson. Basically, Ben Simmons with a jump shot is Josh Giddey at this point. No,
Yeah,
in
40
all
vertical.
seriousness, I think Josh Giddey's a great shout. I think that's one guy that I'd probably have on my short list. And just in terms of like, the question is interesting because it's like, which player's game have you grown to appreciate? But it also with Giddey, it's also there's just like fundamental improvement. So it's less about like more appreciation and more about just like he's a better player now.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the way he's using contact on drives now. He used to be like the biggest driver who was afraid of contact, and that was always my biggest drawback. It was like he'd throw up these weird floaters. Now he's dropping the shoulder, hunting for fouls, hunting for layups, trying to get all the way to the rim, which in addition to the size and passing makes him just a super dangerous driver. Like he had a phenomenal game-winning pass to Vooch in the corner, and the defense had to come with help because he was threatening as a downhill scorer throughout that whole game. But that segues me to a better point. Vooch, man, Vooch is awesome. Vooch is a really good player. I'm sorry, like that's one guy that I have on my list. I have two players actually, but like just segueing off the Giddey conversation, like Vooch is so like at the core of everything Chicago does well and why they were 4-0. And it's like, it's the collection to me. I've grown to appreciate the Bulls' collective passing and just decision making. It's like, we don't have a go-to half-court creator who can consistently win a one-on-one matchup, especially when Kobe White's out. So we're just going to keep passing and screening and cutting over and over and over again until we find an advantage. And I think that starts with Giddey, but it's also a product of having someone like Vooch at the 5 who's going to space the floor and control the middle of the floor and things like that. But yeah, not to segue too much off of Giddey, I just wanted to shout out Vooch and really the Bulls offense. Like, I think what they're doing is super interesting.
Yeah, Vooch has had a rough last few games. I think we know who he is, but I do think that Vooch has always been a good offensive player. I mean, there's not a lot of bigs who can pass and stretch the floor like him. You know, he had those couple weird years where his three-point shooting dipped in Chicago, but like last 2 years, you know, he's been a 40% kind of guy from three, and so he's a good offensive player. However, I do think that we know who he is, and I think like he had some really good games to start the year where it's like that's not who Vooch is every night. Giddey is clearly improved. we've talked about this, but it's the driving. It's exactly what you said, Tyler. It's the fact that this has been a guy who has always been limited as a scorer in every way, and now actually feels like, oh, this is a 6'8" ball handler coming downhill who can get to the line 6 times a game, who has almost doubled his paint scoring from last year. Everybody wants to look at the shooting, and that's worth noting. The volume has gone up. The percentage has gone up. He is now like confidently taking threes when people go under, and if you give him enough space in transition, like he's taking and making shots he didn't used to. But to me, the bigger thing is the fact that now he actually stresses defenses downhill, both for his own scoring and also for what that does, making him not just a very good passer, which he's always been, but an actual playmaker, an actual creator for an offense. I'm still not the highest on him. Cal Bears legend Jalen Tyson clamped his ass up last time we saw him play, and he had a come back to earth kind of game, but he's clearly better. So, yeah, he does deserve a shout out. I'm going to go a cheeky direction with this question. I'm going to say a player who has not played this year. And I already had a great appreciation for this guy, but I'm just going to bring this up. I feel like nobody is talking about how big of a deal Tyrese Halliburton's absence is. I feel like way too many people are just accepting, oh yeah, that team that was in Game 7 of the NBA Finals last year is now 1-11.
I mean, the Pacers also have been running with, like, the G League squad, too. I mean, Matherin's hurt, Nembhard's hurt. Like, I do think that context is important.
So Mathurin, absolutely.
I mean, they missed a lot of games over these last 2 weeks. Nembhard, McConnell, Mathurin, Toppin, like all those guys have been out.
I'm not disagreeing, Logan. They're worse than the fucking Brooklyn Nets, though. They're 1-11. Nembhard has been back out there. Nembhard is giving you like 52% true shooting. Siakam has played in almost all these games. Siakam is at 52% true shooting. Like, they're the worst offense in basketball. They are dead last in offensive rating. They are worse than the Dallas Mavericks, who we've been talking about. The Indiana Pacers, the team that 2 years ago was the number 1 playoff offense, that last year was effectively the number 1 playoff offense. They were second in offensive rating, but they went way deeper than Cleveland. They literally outclassed Cleveland in their head-to-head offensively. Like, one of the best offenses in recent memory loses Tyrese Halliburton, and they become the worst offense in basketball. Of course, Mathurin looked great in his first 2 games, and then he got hurt. Like, I'm not pretending that that isn't the case. You know, there's been a lot of Ray J. Dennis. Like, there's been a lot of dudes who they're just looking for anybody who can show up and play. But also, Nesmith has played in almost every one of these games. Siakam has played in almost every one of these games. Jarris Walker has played in almost every game. Ben Shepherd, like, a lot of the guys have been there, and they've just been completely horrible. So, all I'm saying is, even understanding there's been other absences, every single thing about this offense gets way, way worse when Hallie is off the floor. They lose so much of their transition potency with his brilliant hit-ahead passing. They lose so much in the half court, like having an actual ball handler who not only with the screen can threaten you as a pull-up shooter and can get into the lane and make all the floaters, but who's also the brilliant passer that he is. And the reason I'm emphasizing this, it's not to rag on the Pacers, it's to say so many times I have been told Tyrese Halliburton is a cog in the machine. Tyrese Halliburton is a system merchant. Tyrese Halliburton is overrated because he doesn't have the box score numbers. He's just a product of this really good team. So many people underrated this guy for so long, and now you are seeing just how valuable he is because his team has disintegrated into nothing without him when they were on the precipice of an NBA title last year because of him. He's the most underrated offensive player in the NBA. He's one of the most underrated offensive players ever. He's a legitimate basketball genius. He's a top 15 player. I hope he comes back fully healthy. That's all I have to say about Hallie. I've already felt this way, but it's just like seeing it in action and nobody's talking about it. How is nobody talking about the fact they're going to be the worst NBA team that went to the finals the year before ever? They're going to be worse than the 99 Bulls who lost everybody, who lost MJ, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. Like, that should be talked about. And it's not to celebrate the Pacers sucking, because that sucks, unless they do get a really high draft pick, in which case long-term it could be the best thing for them if Hallie comes back from the Achilles the same player. It's just to give shout-outs to one of the most underrated players in the NBA in a long time.
I don't disagree with anything you said about Hallie. My point is just that I was a believer in the Pacers going 500 without Halliburton this year, but it was more due to my embedded faith in the depth of this team, and I just think that you can't undersell that. Like, a lot of my faith was in TJ McConnell and Nembhard to float this offense in his absence. McConnell's played 2 games. A lot of the reason why I expected Indiana to be good this year was Ben Mathurin taking a leap. In the 2 games he played, he was averaging 30 points per game. Like, I think he is a special basketball player. Like, I don't want to undermine your point, but like McConnell's played 2 games, Mathurin has played 2 games, Toppin has played 3 games, Nembhard's played 5. Like, these are all imperative parts of this playoff formula for this team. And my point is just that I don't think they're 1-12 bad without Hallie. I think they are a bad team without Hallie, but I think that they are much better than this when they are at full strength.
I agree with everything both of you said. I also would like to mention that the difference between Miles Turner and Isaiah Jackson or Jayhawk is really
huge. It's actually staggering.
Huge.
100%.
Halliburton's insane. I really think it's going to challenge people like to think about how they think about the sport, because like you said, the whole cog in the system was a huge talking point with Halliburton, and it gets talked about with even players on another echelon like Steve Nash, system player, Steph Curry, system player. And the only way to really see that these guys are the system is to see the team try to run the system in their absence. And Indiana's offense like just looks like a travesty. And it really is. Like, obviously there are differences, but like if you simply slotted Halliburton into this current iteration, they would still probably be a good team.
Yeah, I agree. So of course, like, it's going to get better from here, but as somebody who has been adamant about just how valuable Hallie is, as somebody who thought like, yeah, the Pacers were going to kind of suck this year, I think I picked them to win like 34 games or something. So I didn't pick them to win 7. Like,
I think I had them at like 39,
not going to.
Like 38 or 39. I had them closer to 500.
Yeah, I think that was, like Logan said, most people's expectations, if not higher than that. You know, when you get to the Hallie haters who are like, oh, they're going to be fine without him. For sure, Turner matters. All these injuries matter, but they're in the Wizards conversations. They're in the Nets conversations. They are in like, yeah, we'd be better off like fully shutting down and tanking kind of conversations. And they were in the finals last year. That's all I'm saying here. Even if they do come back and they win 30 games, it's going to prove the point all the same. Like, once they get healthier, that's still a massive, massive drop off due overwhelmingly to the absence of one player. So I kind of cheated here. My other answer here would be Şengün. I've been really impressed by
Şengün. Was my answer. That was my guy. Yeah, like, you don't have a point guard. You start running your offense through a de facto point guard that's also your center. And he's just, like, exceeded every expectation. He, like, the team completely falls apart when he's not out there. And with him on the court, they look like a championship team. And he's been absolutely awesome. I actually was, like, thinking about this while watching. It's been in my head for a little bit, but specifically that clip against Giannis, where Giannis is like reaching and stuff, and Şengün cooks him down court. I kind of had the thought fully pop into my head where I was like, Şengün might be, I don't know if he'd be my pick, but he might be the best ball handling center we've ever seen. Like, he's got that thing on a string for how much he plays in the perimeter and how much he has to initiate. Like, he does not lose the ball, and he can do pretty much anything with a live dribble.
He is such a good passer as a driver. Like, we were talking about this last episode. I think that's where he's at his best as a playmaker is actually when he's coming downhill. Like, he's so good at seeing cutters, especially. The synergy with Amen there is just like,
I find he can kind of get into trouble sometimes when he goes back to the basket and like I don't know, he can kind of get back tapped and guys can blitz him a little bit when he's in the middle of the floor. I think that's a great shout for best ball handling center. Like, even Jokic's handle is not as functional when it comes to like, and there's also just, you know, a difference in frame there where Jokic is almost 300 pounds, so he's not going to be able to get past you. But like, I think Şengün is better.
The other guys,
would you discount Wemby just because he's so tall?
Actually, Wemby's just gotten pretty fucking good, dude.
Yeah, I would say like the 3 that come to mind immediately are Wemby, Şengün, and Embiid.
I was about to say Embiid.
I guess like if you go back to like, it's kind of hard to do the era adjustment for handle, but like Olajuwon obviously was one of the best ball handling bigs.
Does Chet count?
Chet counts as a center.
Chet counts, but I wouldn't say he's up to this. I wouldn't say he's at this level.
Chet's pretty ridiculous in terms of like his change in pace and fluidity.
When it goes right with Chet, it's so beautiful, but then there are like some real issues when it comes for him handling in tight spaces. The ball pressure really got him in the playoffs last year.
Derek Queen's handles looks pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
Derek Queen, he's not like a center though. I don't know. I think he's like
I get what you're saying.
He's
I get what
fun
you're
though,
saying.
man. Derek Queen's
He
a
is.
fun watch.
No,
But Embiid is a great shout. Like Embiid, what he could do as a driver, even just like the fluidity with which he would get into like his little 1-2 dribble pull-ups, like all that stuff. I don't know. He's just a very functional ball handler. Those are the right names to shout.
I had a take like 3 years ago, I think, where it was when everyone started calling Şengün Baby Jokic, and I like was studying Şengün a ton, and I came away from that feeling like Şengün is way, in terms of just play style and where they're at their best in terms of spots and the reads they make. Şengün to me is way closer to Embiid than Jokic in terms of I'm at my best when I'm facing the basket, I'm playing downhill, I'm a threat to like I'm trying to score over the top of you. Obviously it's not the hang dribble pull up midi, but it's the same kind of like working my way to the paint, get to a touch shot, whatever. But then also like downhill passing is where I'm at my best. As opposed to Jokic, who it's like, let's get the ball to the top of the key. Let's start spamming lateral action as soon as there's a tight window, cutter. And it's like, so it just felt a lot different to me. And I do think Şengün at this point is just his completely own thing. I don't think he's like any other player. Şengün's a one-on-one.
I've always felt like people try to lump Sabonis, Şengün, Jokic together as like these passing bigs. They're all so different. But yeah, I do feel better about Şengün than I ever have. Like coming into the league, his first couple years, I had worries about his ability to anchor a defense. He's improved there. Last year, obviously, the finishing was so rough. The touch was so rough. The shooting was rough. And I'm not saying the shooting has figured itself out. He's shooting better from three on more volume. He still doesn't have the mid-range game. And it's like, I need to see some of the touch stuff hold up because I do think he can get into this mode where it's like his self-created offense is, I can put my shoulder into you, but against a really good, strong defender, maybe I'm just taking a bunch of like 12-foot hooks and touch shots that he's not good enough at to like live off of those. But these were all my criticisms of him last year. The fact that he's been able to take on this ball handling and playmaking load to me, like that's crazy stuff for a center. That's legitimately so impressive. And when he is putting the ball in the basket at the clip that he is right now, which still isn't efficient, but it's passable efficiency compared to last year, which was really rough efficiency. He's such an impactful offensive player because he does such unique things out there alongside that. And like, he's just the advantage creator for this offense. Like if you were going to say who's the MVP of the Rockets right now, it's obviously Şengün more than KD.
I think he's such an underrated on-ball player. Like going back even just multiple years, I remember, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Data Ball R and that whole like NBA RPM.
Yeah.
He's always been big on posting. Like he had a post a few years ago, or maybe even just a year ago, where it was Şengün's play type data. And it was like his expected efficiency on ball play types is ridiculously high. Like as a creator, he's super efficient, but he has like none of the play finishing stuff.
Right.
And that's why you'll never see him reach these super high true shooting percentages like a Jokic, where you're getting like 70%. But like, I think within the context of Houston's offense, it's important to think about like Şengün as a creator being able to get you like 57 or 58% true shooting is like ridiculously impactful because we're going to get so many second chances and because he's having to create all these opportunities now as like a point guard. It's really
that's
special
the thing.
stuff.
That's the thing. You're almost judging his efficiency not up against a big, but against like other perimeter on-ball creators. But then that is also a limitation of his, and that's a reason that I've had these questions. I'm like, Şengün does not operate like a Sabonis or a Jokic in the sense that those guys do have their play finishing stuff. Those guys do have like their quick touch playmaking hubs, tons of handoffs and stuff like that. And like that's never been Şengün's game because he doesn't have the play finishing. And he doesn't have the floor spacing to be a popper. So, like, if you're going to run offense through him as this on-ball hub, he's got to be more efficient as a scorer, has always been my take, to justify being that kind of, like, at times ball stopper, high-volume post-up guy, because that's just not a super easy route to team offense. But him doing what he's doing in these circumstances with the load that is on him, like, I'll ask you this. I asked Logan this on a live the other night, and then we're going to let you go. But just meandering, fun basketball conversation. Would you rather have Paolo or Şengün to start with right now?
Şengün.
Yeah,
I think Şengün. I don't think I answered that pretty quickly. I don't think it's like an easy like 100% Şengün, but I do think Şengün's. One of the things I always look for when I'm asked like the team building question, like who would I start with? It's where can I work from there to then enhance my teammates. And I do think Şengün's play style enhances teammates more than Paolo's does. And I also think Şengün is just a flat out better defensive player than Paolo. Like Şengün is just a legitimately good defender. So it's like if I have a good defender who I know is going to enhance my teammates, that gives me such an easy building block for structuring the roster.
Dude, I mean, he's a better defender, he's a better rebounder, and he's a better playmaker, I'd say, than Paolo right now.
He's even been a better scorer this year.
Yes.
I'm not saying he is a better scorer, but he has been a better scorer this year. Like, I would go with him too. The enhancing teammates, that's the biggest thing. Like, the Rockets just so desperately need somebody who can be that initiator, be that creator, draw the defensive attention that he does. KD, as good as he is not doing that at this stage in his career. Şengün is, and he's making the reads and he's making the passes, and I've been so impressed.
The one question I have for you, Carson, is you keep hinting at like this floor spacing thing. Do you not buy Şengün's 3-point shooting?
I sort of buy it. I do think this early in the year, like the 5 of 8 game to start the year, that was like, whoa, let's set the tone. It's never looked like that since. You know, he's taking like a couple a game, but still, he's shooting 39% from 3 on 3 attempts a game. He's never done that before. So I do think it's improved. However, I was saying like compared to a Jokic, who's like a great pick and pop big, and also the mid-range. Because Şengün still has had no like true mid-range game. Again, he has the touch shots in the paint, 10, 12 feet, but I'm talking about like a Jokic, a Miles Turner, those kind of pick and pop, 17, 18 footers. He's got none of that in his game. He doesn't have a mid-range shot making game as a self-creator either. That's not in his face-up game. So that is where I do still think there's a limitation.
That's fair. No, so I do think this could be like a bridge year, like we were talking about, the one that Sabonis never had. He's taking 3-point attempts per game this year, so like maybe next year we get up to 4 or 5 where Jokic is at, and obviously I don't expect him to be 42%, but
yeah, speaking of a guy that we were talking about earlier, I mean that's kind of what Vooch had, right? That last season where he got moved from Orlando to Chicago and then he fully takes the leap at a decent volume.
What I'll say about Şengün is he's gotten significantly better at something every year of his career. Like he took the natural rookie, sophomore, third year, all of a sudden it's like, okay, he's, a real offensive hub. Then last year, even though he took a step back in some of like the play finishing, shot making, touch areas, he took a step forward defensively, and now it's like all coming together the best it ever has. So, yeah, I think I may have been too low on the Gooner, man. I've thought like, is it a little clunky to build around him? And he's in this clunky-ass situation. He's playing alongside another center frequently and another non-shooter frequently in a men. And all those guys do their crazy, unique things to make the offense work. But, like, the spacing that he is asked to navigate, even though he knows that these dudes are going to gobble up offensive rebounds like crazy, and even he's part of that, like, they're the most interesting team. The Rockets are one of the most interesting teams I've ever watched. Like, nobody else does it like they do it, and they're a top 2 offense, and they're a clear top 5 title contender. Like, everybody plays the same, though, Tyler. I don't know if you heard. Everybody actually plays the same in today's NBA.
Same offenses, no defense. All of them don't play defense, and then they all have the same offense.
No defense. Everybody plays the same offense. 100 threes a game, 150 pick and rolls a game. Yep. No coaching, woke. Everybody cries every game. Nobody plays
back and forth, run
game.
Down, shoot a 3. Run down, shoot a 3.
It's disgusting, dude. Yeah. Well, I think it's a beautiful game, and I'm enjoying it. And even if you feel that way, Tyler, that's not how I feel. I wouldn't say those things about the NBA.
Well, we'll just have to settle it in the ring then.
All right, we'll have to settle it in the ring. All right, we'll get out there. End of NBA season. I've got to make it through this season, and then we can duke it out, man. Fisticuffs. That's the way it was clearly meant to be. That's going to be awesome. Well, before we do that, before I end Tyler's life in the ring, you guys have to go support him while he's still here with us because he just makes wonderful content, as you guys have been able to tell through this podcast, our past podcasts. Awesome, awesome basketball mind creator. So go support Hoop Venue everywhere, YouTube especially. So much great content there. And if you want more of our stuff, you know where to find us. TikTok, Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh for all of our daily content, trivia, little takes we do, graphics, and clips from the show. And, of course, all of our full-length episodes are on YouTube and across all audio platforms. And on YouTube, we've been doing more video essay content. At least one week I've been getting out. Last week, talked about the Cooper Flag situation. This week, talked about the insane top 3 prospects that we are seeing in this year's draft and how crazy they all are in their own ways. So, support us if you want, but more importantly, go support Tyler and hoop venue. And are there any last words for you, my friend, that do not involve talking about our boxing match, because we just gotta, wait for the real thing on that.
I just really appreciate you guys having me, and this was fun, man.
Of course, dude. Thank you for giving us 2.5 hours. That was not the plan. That was not the plan, but I enjoyed it greatly, and I hope that all of you guys did too. So, with that, as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
I've been Tyler Britton.
And this was Nerd Stash.